Chapter 783. The 8 storms will meet in the capital. Dong Fanghao was instantly moved by the program plan that Lu Qin came up with. His current position is the director of CCTV Film Production Department and the general manager of New Video. His main business is film projects, but this does not mean that he is not familiar with the popular talent shows. On the contrary, Dong Fanghao is very clear that CCTV attaches great importance to variety shows at present. They have been brewing and preparing a number of variety entertainment brand programs to actively respond to the challenges from major local satellite TV stations. Today's CCTV is no longer the invincible and crushing ratings hegemon 20 years ago. Although no one can shake its position as the leader, it has been surpassed by the satellite TV stations in many aspects. For example, Shonan TV, Zhidong Satellite TV, Huhai Satellite TV, and even Beijing Television have their own competitive products to divide the market, mainly focusing on TV series and variety shows. The most typical example is undoubtedly Lu Chen's cooperation with Zhidong Satellite TV and Beijing Satellite TV on several TV series. In terms of ratings, CCTV's primetime TV series have been defeated. There is also the reality singing talent show, The Voice of China, whose ratings are also disdainful. With the help of the cooperation with Lu Chen, the 2 major satellite TV stations made a lot of money, especially Beijing Television. Many people came to CCTV and their voices were much rougher. It would be a lie to say that CCTV doesn't care about this and is not the least bit jealous. Now that Lu Chen has taken the initiative to seek cooperation with CCTV and has come up with a very operable talent show plan that will inevitably have a major impact, how can Dong Fanghao remain indifferent? Even though he wasn't in charge of this, it was more than enough for him to get the credit of recommending him. After a hurried glance at the document on the computer, Dong Fanghao immediately said, "I will call Director Zhao Gang over right away." He is the director of the program department of the variety channel. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Don't be so anxious, Director Dong. I will send this plan to you first, and then we will set a time to talk about it in detail. Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow is fine." He is not afraid that the plan will be leaked, because this program plan is completely aimed at the smiling, proud wanderer. It is useless for others to copy it, and Dong Fanghao is not that stupid. Dong Fanghao was anxious. "Can't we do it at night?" Director Dong couldn't wait to finalize it on the spot to avoid any more problems. However, Lu Chen was very apologetic. "I really don't have time tonight. I promised to go to Brother Tan Hong's house for a gathering, so..." Of course, Dong Fanghao couldn't force him, so he rescheduled the appointment to tomorrow. The afternoon rehearsal lasted until 5 p.m. before it ended. Although Central TV had given out buffet vouchers, other than the extras and staff, basically no one would be greedy for this meal. Lu Chen and Chen Fei were no exception. The 2 of them went to Tan Hong's house to try Song Wanliu's cooking. After Tan Hong retired from the music industry, Lu Chen became even more familiar with him. It was not the first time that he had been a guest at his home. He was also very familiar with Tan Hong's wife and daughter. There were not only 2 guests, but Lu Gangxing was also there. Lu Gangxing and Tan Hong have known each other for many years. Although one is in Xiangjiang and the other is in Beijing, and it is rare for them to bump into each other every 2 to 3 years, Lu Gangxing will always get together with Tan Hong to chat whenever he is in Beijing. This time, Lu Gangxing came to Beijing for the Spring Festival Gala rehearsal, so he had to visit a few old friends. When they arrived at Tan Hong's house, Song Wanlu had already prepared the meal. Everyone is friends, so there is no need for formalities. Soon, they sat down to eat and drink, and the atmosphere was very lively. After the family dinner, Chen Fei helped Song Wanlu clear the dishes, while Tan Hong, Lu Chen, and Lu Gangxing sat in the living room, drinking tea and chatting. The 3 of them inevitably talked about Lu Chen's recent trip to Korea. Even a person like Tan Hong, who has a mild personality, was full of praise for Lu Chen's victory over Li Zhiqing. Lu Gangxing laughed and said, I also watched the live broadcast. Young Chen is indeed very good. Even my 2 bodyguards are very impressed, saying that they are no match for you at all. The bodyguards that Lu Gangxing hired were naturally not ordinary people. To be able to convince them, of course, it was because of his ability. Lu Qin said a few humble words, and then talked about the upcoming movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, as well as preparing for the casting of this movie. Speaking of this, Lu Gangxing really had something to say. I don't care about your casting, but the role of Xiang Wendian belongs to me. Lu Gangxing's role in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was something that was confirmed a long time ago, but in terms of the role, this king of Xiangjiang was still uncertain at that time. There were 2 roles that he liked, namely Lu Jingfeng and Xiang Wendian. Now, he finally made a decision. With Lu Gangxing's ability and fame, if he wanted to make a movie, a lot of movie companies would definitely kneel down and give him the script for him to choose. He would definitely be the absolute leading role. And Lu Gangxing was willing to play a supporting role in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. In addition to the factor of his friendship with Lu Qin, the most important factor was that he was interested in the script and was looking forward to new challenges in acting. Lu Qin laughed and said, of course, no problem. He had already kept the 2 roles of Lu Jingfeng and Xiang Wendian, waiting for Lu Gangxing's decision. Although the 2 supporting roles didn't have many scenes, with Lu Gangxing's participation, the box office could at least increase by 100 million. Lu Gangxing still felt it was a pity. Actually, Lu Jingfeng is not bad. Lu Chen thought of something and immediately said to Tan Hong, Brother Tan, why don't you play Lu Jingfeng? Tan Hong looked confused. Oh. After a while, he understood and shook his head. You mean you want me to act? Then I really can't. Tan Hong had been famous in the pop music industry for many years. Except for a lot of music videos, he really hadn't acted in any serious movies, let alone a big commercial production like The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, so he instinctively refused. But Lu Gangxing praised, good, Tan Xing is very suitable to play Lu Jingfeng, I support him. Lu Qin encouraged, there's nothing wrong with it. There aren't many scenes. It's not a big deal to shoot a few more times. Tan Hong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When he was about to insist on refusing, Song Wanlu came over with Qin Fei, and asked curiously, what are you talking about? What is it? Lu Qin smiled and said, sister-in-law, we are talking about making a movie. I want Brother Tan to play a role. Qin Fei's eyes suddenly lit up, that's great. Lu Qin didn't give Tan Hong a chance to refuse. He pulled Qin Fei to sit down, took out his mobile phone and handed it to Song Wanlu, sister-in-law, take a photo of us, I'll announce the news first. 4 people, Lu Qin, Qin Fei, Lu Gangxing and Tan Hong, respectively represented 4 roles, Ling Huchong, Ren Yingying, Xiang Wendian and Lu Jingfeng. For real big shots, this was definitely a very special and very interesting group photo. Chapter 784. Few stars and artists in the world didn't use blogs. Now it was the age of the internet. The number of netizens was unprecedented, and basically included the corresponding people in the entertainment industry. Therefore, even very unique stars would follow the trend and open a blog. Even if they didn't use it much, it was very good as a publicity platform. Many stars and artists used their blogs to great effect. Not only did they have a special team to manage their blogs, but they also liked to refresh their blogs 10 times a day. They even took a few pictures of their meals and shoes to show the world. In contrast, as the most popular star in the domestic entertainment industry, Lu Chen's frequency of posting on his blog is not high. He doesn't hype, fight, or sell advertisements. In addition to his daily show of affection and dog food, he only interacts with his friends in the circle and posts some interesting photos. As the saying goes, the rarer something is, the greater its value. It was precisely because he didn't post often and had hundreds of millions of fans that his blog posts attracted a lot of attention. This group photo of the 4 people in Tan Hong's house was posted on Lu Chen's personal blog at 8:15 p.m. At 9 p.m., it reached the top of the hot list on the homepage of Waves' blog. The number of reposts and comments both exceeded 1 million, setting a record for Waves' blog. Lu Chen, Chen Fei, Lu Gangxing, and Tan Hong represented different levels and histories of the Chinese music industry. The 4 of them stood at the top of the music industry, and their album sales combined were absolutely amazing. However, the most interesting thing was that the photo of the 4 had nothing to do with pop music, but a movie that hadn't started yet. The name of the movie was The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. Of course, the most excited were the martial arts fans cultivated by The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. It had been 1 or 2 years since The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was first published. During this period, it had been reprinted and republished many times. It had been on the sales list of Xinhua Publishing Company. At present, it had even been translated into many languages and published in many countries in Southeast Asia. It had considerable influence. Of course, the domestic martial arts fans were the most. They had long been looking forward to The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer movie and TV series. Naturally, the reaction to this special photo was the strongest. Lu Gangxing is playing Xiang Wendian? That's great. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect Tan Hong to have a cameo role. Whose house is this? Wow, Chen Fei is so beautiful. Don't say anything else, just hurry up and start shooting. When the time comes, I'll contribute 2 movie tickets. I'll contribute 5, but that was not the end. 2 hours after the photo was posted, Lu Chen posted a new blog post. This blog post was officially leaked. He said that after the new year, he would start a nationwide audition for actors for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, and make a talent show to select the best talents to participate in the filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. At the same time, he added the basic requirements for participating in the election. This blog post was even more sensational than the previous one because it provoked the nerves of countless people. I want to sign up. I just want to ask, is it too late to learn martial arts now? Those who have no strength in their limbs express their great regret. The storms of the 8 directions will gather in the capital? Does it mean that the qualifiers will be held in Beijing? I also want to act. Many people had a dream of becoming a star. In most people's eyes, it was easier to be an actor than a singer, and it was easier to be famous to act than to sing. The latter required a good voice or good looks. Therefore, there were many people applying for film academies every year. Every major film and television studios were full of people pursuing their dream of becoming a star. In fact, the road of an actor was more difficult than the road of a singer, and the competition was more intense. But to stand under the spotlight and appear on the big screen was a strong temptation to countless people. It's just that for them, the biggest problem is that there is no way or opportunity. But now Lu Chen's movie actually wants to audition actors. Even if there are all kinds of restrictions and requirements, many people who meet or don't meet the conditions and are interested in this area are all excited. Not to mention ordinary people, even some second or third-rate artists in the circle half-jokingly or half-seriously expressed their desire to participate in the talent show. These artistes knew Lu Chen's capability too well. All the projects he participated in were extremely profitable. Those who were involved in the projects all benefited a lot. Some even became famous overnight. So even if they were to play a small supporting role in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, it was still an extremely good thing. Not to mention that the movie had already booked 4 real big names. It was simply a feast. Of course, Lu Chen sent out these 2 blog posts on purpose, but the influence caused by it actually exceeded his expectations. After a short period of fermentation, It quickly caused a sensation inside and outside the circle, and made countless people ready to make a move. To be continued. As a result, the next morning, while Lu Chen was still asleep, he was woken up by the phone ringing next to his pillow. He opened his eyes in a daze and took out his cell phone to see that it was only 7:00. The sky outside was not fully bright yet. The number was a little familiar, but it was not in his contact list. Who was it? Lu Chen was a little puzzled as he pressed the call button. Hello. A deep voice came from the phone. Teacher Lu Chen, I'm really sorry to disturb you. I'm Chen Qi from Beijing television station. Lu Chen originally thought that someone had made a mistake, but he did not expect it to be the deputy director of Beijing television station, Chen Qi. He quickly said, Hello, Director Chen. What's the matter? Lu Chen had a good relationship with Chen Qi, but it was limited to work, so the latter was not on his list of relatives and friends. However, with Chen Qi's connections, it was not strange for him to know his private cell phone number. Of course, normally, Chen Qi would not suddenly call him early in the morning for no reason. In fact, Lu Chen had already guessed it. Sure enough, Chen Qi laughed and said, Is it convenient to have breakfast together? It's my treat. The deputy director of Beijing television personally called to invite him to breakfast. He was definitely giving him a lot of face. However, Lu Chen said with a wry smile, Director Chen, let me treat you to breakfast, but I'm afraid you will be disappointed. What kind of person was Chen Qi? He immediately reacted. You know. You didn't give it to Zhejiang television, did you? Of course not Zhejiang television. Lu Chen said with a smile, it's Central TV. Chen Qi was speechless. If it was Zhejiang television, he could communicate with Lu Chen confidently, but if it was Central TV, he really could not. This breakfast was still treated to by Chen Qi. After breakfast, the people from Central TV contacted Lu Chen. And the impact of the audition for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer had just begun. Chapter 785. Xiangnan, Hengyang. Before the sun rose in the morning, Nanyue Hingshan Neo Martial Arts School's internal broadcast system started on time. Exciting music instantly rang throughout the school, waking up the teachers and students from their dreams. In room 317 of the A3 dormitory, Meng Hu rubbed his sleepy eyes, lifted his warm blanket, and got up to get dressed. He had to move quickly, or else it would be troublesome if the toilet was occupied by someone else. He would have to run to a public toilet far away, and if he missed his morning exercise, the consequences would be dire. Nanyue Hingshan Neo Martial Arts School was the most famous professional martial arts school in Xiangnan. It had a history of more than 30 years and had nearly 10,000 teachers and students. Although it was a private school, it was larger than many public high schools or technical secondary schools. Unlike ordinary high schools and technical secondary schools, Hingshan Martial Arts School implemented a closed military management. All students lived on campus, not even on Saturdays or Sundays. Their basic necessities, food, lodging, and entertainment were all handled on campus. It was very strict. It was precisely because of its strictness that many parents sent their children who could no longer be controlled to this school for life re-education. Hingshan Martial Arts School's graduates had good prospects. Some joined the army, some entered the police academy or university, some became security guards, some became fitness trainers, and some even became professional athletes. At the very least, they could build a strong physique after 3 years. Meng Hu came from the old rural area of Gannan province. His family was poor, and his grades in school were very average. Therefore, he wanted to learn something and work early to reduce the burden on his family. Someone from his village had studied in Hingshan Martial Arts School for 3 years and was now the captain of a security company with a monthly salary of more than 10,000. This villager had a good relationship with Meng Hu's family. He promised Meng Hu that as long as he graduated from Hingshan Martial Arts School, he would recommend him to this company. The starting salary would be at least 3,000. Meng Hu's family was very grateful to this. They took out all their savings to support Meng Hu in Hingshan Martial Arts School. Hingshan Martial Arts School's tuition was quite high, but the entry requirements were very low. As long as one reached the age of enrollment and was healthy, they could basically get in. Meng Hu knew that this opportunity did not come easily. Therefore, he studied very hard in the 2 years he had been in the school. As a result, he improved very quickly. His MMA skills were top-notch among his peers. He had also matured a lot. Originally, Meng Hu thought that his life would be like this. After 3 years, he would graduate from Mount Heng Martial Arts School and enter the security company of his hometown to work. He would first work as a small security guard to accumulate experience and slowly rise to the position of vice captain, and if he was lucky enough, becoming a supervisor or even a manager would not be a dream. Now that he had started earning his salary, he had to help his younger siblings. His younger siblings' academic performance was much better than Meng Hu's, and they would definitely go to university in the future. His family was also in debt because of him. After paying off his debt and supporting his younger brother and sister to go to college, only then could he think about his own life. Perhaps there would be a girl who was not so pretty but kind who would be willing to follow him. The two of them would work hard to save money, get married, have children, and build a house. But now, Meng Hu had a new idea. This thought was so strong that it was like a wildfire burning in his young heart, causing him to be unable to sleep well the whole night. There was always a kind of unwillingness and impulse beating along with his heart. The martial arts school students' morning exercise ended at 7:45 a.m. After the morning exercise, it was a 30-minute break for breakfast. After breakfast, it was time for the morning's cultural class. Tiger. In the cafeteria, Meng Hu had just gotten his meal when a student waved at him and greeted him. Meng Hu's heart instantly tightened. He looked around instinctively, then quickly walked over with his plate. The other person was his best friend in the martial arts school, Li Dongyang. There were a few other people sitting with Li Dongyang, including 2 of Meng Hu's dormitory classmates. They left a seat for Meng Hu. Everyone was very vigilant. It felt like they were meeting up with an underground gang in a movie. Li Dongyang secretly took out his phone from his underwear pocket. He lowered his voice and said, "All of you, keep an eye on it. The results should be out today. I hope all of us can pass." Everyone nodded in unison, trying their best to act as if nothing had happened. However, all of their attention was on Li Dongyang. The martial arts school did not allow the use of mobile phones. If they needed to communicate with the outside world, they could only use landlines. However, there were always some clever students who could think of ways to hide from the school's inspection and surreptitiously use their mobile phones to go online. What Li Dongyang was going to do now was definitely a big deal for them. The student cafeteria and the teacher's cafeteria were separate, so it was relatively safer here. At least, they would not encounter any sudden inspections. However, the 30-minute breakfast time was very limited, so Li Dongyang had to speed up. His fingers were flying as he tapped on the screen and opened the registered email. "There's a result," after a while, Li Dongyang said softly. His eyes revealed a look of excitement. The student sitting next to him almost dropped the chopsticks in his hand. Meng Hu could not help but swallow his saliva. It was supposed to be a very short time, but it felt like an eternity. Li Dongyang said in a hoarse voice, "Century Egg, UF** King passed." Century Egg sat opposite Meng Hu. When he heard this, he jumped up immediately. Fortunately, Meng Hu was quick enough to hold him back. Otherwise, this brat would have jumped straight to the sky. Even so, it still attracted a lot of curious gazes. Li Dongyang immediately put away his phone vigilantly. He picked up his steamed bun and gnawed on it. He looked at Century Egg fiercely. Century Egg chuckled and scratched his head embarrassedly. When he felt that no one was paying attention to him, Li Dongyang took out his phone again and continued checking. Third bro, UF** King passed too. Little Lin, you didn't pass. Chen Zi, congratulations. Meng Hu listened to the familiar nicknames. He was extremely nervous, and his face was flushed. Tiger, you passed too. His clenched fists suddenly loosened, and then he clenched them again. Although he had some confidence, when he heard the news that he passed, it still made this 18-year-old boy extremely excited. I passed, I'm going to the capital. Meng Hu passed the online audition of the big movie actor talent show, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, with the theme of wind and rain gathering in the capital. Among the 7 people sitting with Li Dongyang, 5 of them actually passed the online audition. This meant that they were qualified to go to the capital to participate in the live audition of the show. It was possible for them to become an actor in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Chapter 786. The news of the audition for The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer was first announced by Lu Qin on his personal blog, and then confirmed by the official blog of Qin Fei Media. They also announced the audition criteria and rules. Any adult between the ages of 18 to 35, regardless of gender, as long as they were healthy and had a basic foundation, such as learning traditional martial arts, sanda, taekwondo, judo, kickboxing, and so on, could sign up for the competition. The initial audition used the online registration method. Applicants needed to fill in their basic personal information and attach a short video that could prove that they had learned martial arts. The deadline for the audition was January 25th, and the results of the audition would be announced on January 28th. All the people who passed the audition had to come to the capital on February 25th to participate in the program recording that would officially start on March 1st. A group of outstanding people would be selected to participate in the filming of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. Qin Fei Media further revealed that the talent show, Wind and Rain Gathering in the Capital, had been confirmed to cooperate with the Central Television Variety Channel, so the contestants would definitely be able to appear on the stage of the Central Television Variety Channel. In addition, Qin Fei Media would also be responsible for the travel expenses of all the contestants, as well as their accommodation during the recording of the program. They would also be given different rewards according to the ranking, and even have the opportunity to sign with Qin Fei Media. Once the news was announced, it immediately caused a great sensation. The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer, the Central Television Variety Channel, Qin Fei Media, Lu Qin. Any one of these keywords was enough to attract people's attention. Now that they were all gathered together, it was hard for people to move their eyes away. When Meng Hu got the news, it was only a few days before the online audition registration deadline. The main reason was that the management of the martial arts school was too strict, so they could only watch the TV news for half an hour at night. However, the martial arts school was not a military-restricted area, so it could not be completely isolated from the world. Therefore, the news still spread and was known by many students. It was already surging. Last year, in the library of Hengyang Martial Arts School, the most borrowed book was The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. Because of the special theme of this martial arts novel, it was included in the list of books by the school. As a result, it became the most popular reading material among the students. Many students were fascinated by it. Because of the shortage of books, there were a lot of copies of the novel, which were circulated among the students. Therefore, in Hengyang Martial Arts School, the original work of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer had a great influence. The students were all hot-blooded teenagers, and they were easily influenced by the martial arts in the book. However, the world in the book was ultimately illusory and unreal. Just like the popular online novels nowadays, people mainly used it to relieve their worries. But now, a chance suddenly appeared in front of them, saying that they could become actors in The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. It was very tempting to them. Meng Hu had also watched The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. He did not have any dream of becoming a star, but when such an opportunity was placed in front of him, the desire in his heart spread like wild weeds. Now, he actually passed the online selection. Meng Hu was not the only one who passed the online selection. There were 4 other people who were equally lucky. Those who failed were naturally disappointed and sad, but the winners could not suppress the excitement in their hearts. "Tiger," Li Dongyang happily said, "let's go to the capital together after the new year." He and Meng Hu were both from Gan province, and their hometowns were only about 100 kilometers away from each other. They were really old cousins, so they became good friends in the martial arts school. He also passed the online selection. The selection criteria of the smiling, proud wanderer was actually very advantageous for martial arts school students like them, because they met all the requirements and could easily crush ordinary people in many aspects. That was why they passed so many rounds. Of course, the online selection was relatively easy. If they went to the capital to participate in the audition, there would definitely be a large number of people rejected. The talent show would definitely select the best of the best. But for these 18 and 19-year-old teenagers, there was no such thing as failure in their minds. Even if they knew the chances were slim, it was totally worth it to go to the capital for free. Unexpectedly, Meng Hu shook his head and said, "No, I plan to go to the capital the day after tomorrow when the winter break begins." Everyone was shocked. Li Dongyang could not help but open his eyes wide. The official audition will only start on the 1st of March. "Where are you going to stay now? Aren't you going home for the new year?" He suspected that Meng Hu was so excited that he was talking nonsense. In fact, at this moment, Meng Hu was very calm. He said, "I've thought about it. It's best to buy a high-speed train ticket to the capital now. It will be very difficult to buy a ticket after the new year. If there is any delay, the spring festival had already begun." As the major colleges and universities began their winter break, the domestic traffic would inevitably usher in a new wave of peak. For example, in the capital, at least 10 million people would leave the capital every year to go home for the new year. The high-speed train tickets to all parts of the country were extremely popular. But to the capital, it was completely the opposite. But this was not the most important reason for Meng Hu to give up going home to the capital. "I heard that temporary jobs in the capital are very popular during the new year, and the pay is very high. If I go there as a part-time waiter or delivery boy, I can at least earn a few thousand a month, and I can also send it back to support my family. Isn't it 10 times better than going home?" Li Dongyang and the others could not help but look at each other. No one had expected Meng Hu to be so thoughtful and mature. And Meng Hu lowered his voice and said, "Don't we have to pass 7 stages in the official audition? I want to go and find out what exactly these 7 stages are so that I can be prepared in advance." This time, everyone was shocked. Li Dongyang's expression changed for a moment. He gritted his teeth and said, "Tiger, then I'll go to the capital with you for the new year." Meng Hu was stunned. "Then how are you going to tell your family?" Li Dongyang was the only son in his family. His family was much better off than Meng Hu's, so he did not need to work to support his family. "If I find out anything over there, I'll definitely tell you immediately." Li Dongyang smiled and patted his shoulder. "I've already decided. I'll go out and try my luck." The other youths looked at each other and made up their minds. 2 days later, Hengyang Martial Arts School started its winter break. Meng Hu, Li Dongyang, and a few other students returned their original train tickets and bought new high-speed train tickets to the capital. They traveled together, inadvertently becoming an extremely small countercurrent in this year's spring festival. But they were not unique. There were many more people with the same dream, converging on the capital from different directions, forming a new countercurrent. Chapter 787. Beijing, Mesa Shopping Mall. This large shopping mall, located in the bustling area of Beijing's Second Ring Road, had just opened for business before the arrival of the new year. It had 7 floors, more than 30,000 square meters of operating area, and gathered a large number of international and domestic famous brands. Naturally, it had become the new benchmark in Beijing's business circle. As the Spring Festival approached, countless people who worked or studied in Beijing had left the metropolis. The originally bustling streets had become much emptier. The usual traffic jams from the Second Ring Road to the Fifth Ring Road had quietly disappeared. Even the capital's sky had become a lot bluer. But not all places became deserted. The newly opened Mesa shopping mall ushered in the peak before the Spring Festival. A large number of customers poured into it, buying the new era of New Year goods with extravagant spending: clothes, leather bags, perfume, cosmetics, gold and silver jewelry, imported food, as if it didn't cost money. Even Fang Yun, who came here for the first time, was infected by the almost fanatical shopping atmosphere in the mall. She couldn't help but be extravagant, buying 2 sets of expensive designer clothes and a handbag. A few years ago, she was not willing to spend money on new clothes at all, because the new year was the most difficult time. She owed so many debts, and the word New Year was attached to too heavy a meaning. Since Lu Chen became famous, everything should have changed. The Lu family, who had lost their pillar of support, not only returned to their old life, but also became better than before. The platinum card in the Gucci handbag that Fang Yun had just bought contained 5 million yuan that Lu Chen had deposited. However, her son's filial piety was not the reason why she was happy. What she was really happy about was that at this moment, there were 2 daughters and a future daughter-in-law accompanying her. 2 days ago, Fang Yun came to Beijing with Lu Shui, who had just started her winter vacation. Because this year's Spring Festival, Lu Chen and Chen Fei both had to participate in the CCTV Spring Festival Gala, they would not be able to go home for the new year, so Fang Yun came by herself. In addition to the reason for the family reunion, there was also the reason that the new year in their hometown in Binhai could not be quiet. Lu Chen's reputation was getting bigger and bigger, and there were always a lot of messy people who came to visit during the new year. Some of them wanted to claim connections with relatives, some wanted to borrow money, some wanted to become singers and actresses, and some wanted to introduce jobs for their children. Back when the Lus were at their peak, Fang Yun didn't even know that she had so many relatives and old friends. It really annoyed her so much that she came to the capital to hide in peace. Fang Yun and Lu Shui arrived in the capital. She took time out of her busy schedule to accompany her mother. Of course, Chen Fei didn't want to lose face. She turned down several events and specially brought her future mother-in-law to the mall for shopping. "Auntie, are you tired?" Chen Fei held Fang Yun's arm and said with concern, "Let's go to the tea room on the 5th floor to rest." Fang Yun nodded with a smile and said, "Okay, I'll listen to your arrangement." She couldn't be more satisfied with this future daughter-in-law. The only thing she cared about now was when she and Lu Chen would get married and have children. At that time, she could retire with a peace of mind and take care of her grandchildren. Chen Fei said with a smile, "Then let's go up." As she spoke, she suddenly felt something strange. She couldn't help but turn her head to look to the right. In the crowd not far away, a man in a black jacket was holding a SLR camera and taking pictures of her. Seeing Chen Fei's gaze, the man desperately pressed the shutter and took more than a dozen photos in a row. Then he quickly turned around and disappeared. Chen Fei shook her head helplessly. These paparazzi were really everywhere. Today, because she was going to accompany Fang Yun to go shopping, she didn't disguise herself. As a result, she was followed and photographed. Fang Yun didn't understand. Seeing that Chen Fei's expression was a little strange, she quickly asked, "What's wrong?" Chen Fei immediately smiled and said, "Nothing. Let's go." She wouldn't let such a small thing disturb the mood of herself and her future mother-in-law. 2 hours later, Waves blog's well-known self-media blogger, entertainment gossip, released more than a dozen secretly taken photos with the title, Chin Fei, or appears at Mesa Plaza to accompany future mother-in-law shopping. Among them, the most eye-catching was the photo of Chin Fei, holding Fang Yun's arm and smiling. It immediately caused a lot of response on the blog. Many bloggers have reposted it, attracting a large number of comments from fans. What a warm picture. Is this Lu Chen's mother? She looks so young. My Chen's mother must have been a great beauty when she was young. My Chen is so handsome. Sure enough, it's in her genes. Hey, who's that little beauty next to her? That's my Chen's sister. I've seen Lu Chen's family photos. Do you think my Chen and my Fei's wedding is near? Ha, it's very likely. As everyone talked, they soon went astray. Many people believed that Lu Chen and Chin Fei had entered the stage of talking about marriage. Lu Chen's mother must have come to Beijing to prepare for the wedding. There were also people who said with certainty that Lu Chen and Chin Fei had already gotten a marriage certificate, but it was hidden from everyone. Therefore, Fang Yun was not a future mother-in-law at all. She was a real mother-in-law. What was even more outrageous was that someone revealed on the blog that Chin Fei was pregnant and would get married after the new year. She appeared at Mesa Plaza with her mother-in-law's family to buy baby supplies. Logically speaking, this kind of completely groundless rumor should not be believed by many people. However, things in the world were just that strange. Many people really believed it and ran to Lu Chen and Chin Fei's blogs to congratulate them. Then, more and more people believed it to be true. In the afternoon, the keyword, Chin Fei is pregnant, actually appeared on the hot search list on the homepage of Waves. Ah! When Lu Chen answered the phone in the swimming complex and heard the congratulatory call, he was completely confused. He wondered if the other party was playing an April Fool's joke on him. Who did you hear it from? Ha! Lin Jijia's hearty laughter came from the phone. Don't you know? It's going crazy on the internet. Everyone is saying that you and Fei are getting married because of the baby. Your mother is accompanying her to buy baby supplies at Mesa Plaza. Lu Chen's face turned into a big, awkward character. I'm going to faint. Lin Jijia laughed and said, I think it's impossible. The movie you two are starring in is about to start filming. How could you get pregnant at this time, unless, cough cough. But everyone is very concerned about the two of you, haha. After ending the call with Lin Jijia, Lu Chen shook his head speechlessly and quickly called Chin Fei. Chin Fei already knew about it. She was arranging the public relations department to refute the rumor. Lu Chen was relieved and returned his attention to the swimming complex. There was a very important test going on here. Chapter 788. The swimming pool was built in the 1990s. At that time, it was the largest and most well-equipped swimming pool in the capital, and it had many water entertainment facilities. Therefore, it became a place of childhood memories for many people in the capital. But now, the swimming pool was undoubtedly outdated. Last year, the state allocated funds to renovate it. The swimming pool and various facilities in the main pool were renovated and upgraded. Finally, it kept up with the trend. Since 5 days ago, the main swimming pool had been closed to the public. A large number of equipment had been moved into the swimming pool, and a mobile castle had been built on the thermostatic swimming pool. This would become the recording site for the audition of The Smiling, Proud Martial World. All the contestants would challenge 7 difficulties in the swimming pool, and then the best would be selected to enter the knockout stage. Today, Lu Chen came to the site to inspect the progress of the project. Because the creative ideas of this talent show were all provided by Lu Chen, and the rules were also made by him. In order to ensure the effect of the show, even the sketches of the equipment were drawn by him. First of all, 500 qualified contestants would be selected from the online applicants, and then they would come to the capital for the water challenge. The challenges included flying across the pontoon bridge, thrilling at every step, brave against the current, overturning rivers and seas, jumping over the Dragon Gate, taking a sharp turn down, and climbing the peak. Each challenge was more difficult than the previous one. After 2 days of installation and debugging, the equipment for the first 4 challenges were basically in place. Because the equipment for the last 3 challenges were relatively complicated, the manufacturers were still working overtime to make them. It would take at least another week. In fact, this was already very difficult. This was because the water challenge was an original design, and there were no precedents to follow. All the equipment was specially ordered from the largest amusement equipment manufacturer in Beijing. Since it happened to be during the Chinese New Year, they had to pay a high price to ensure the progress. Moreover, the installation and debugging were not smooth. If there were any problems, they had to be solved on the spot. They even had to reassemble or make accessories. Therefore, Lu Chen had to spend a lot of energy on it. Therefore, he had no time to pay attention to the boring rumors on the internet. When one reached the level of Lu Chen and Chen Feier, their every move might fall into the eyes of others. Paparazzi would follow them and secretly take pictures of their daily trips, adding to the entertainment news. Unless it was malicious slander that affected the company's reputation, the company's public relations department would handle it appropriately. They would make statements and refute rumors as needed. It would not affect their work. Lu Laosher, a middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes, jogged over. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and asked carefully, "All the equipment has been tested. There are no more problems. Are we going to conduct a real-person test now?" "All right," Lu Chen smiled and said, "Manager Zhang, thank you for your hard work." This middle-aged man was the manager sent by the equipment provider to supervise the construction. He had a lot of experience in the industry and had supervised the installation of many land and water entertainment facilities. However, the equipment set up on the swimming pool today was brand new. For Manager Zhang, it was a difficult challenge. Under normal circumstances, not many companies would accept orders before the new year, and rush the work before the new year and install the equipment during the new year. However, the 2 brands of Lu Chen and Central TV were too loud, so the equipment providers could not refuse this cooperation at all. They did their best to ensure the smooth completion of the contract. Manager Zhang was a little flattered and quickly said, "It's not hard, it's not hard." He had not come into contact with any celebrity artists. To him, Lu Chen was undoubtedly a high and unattainable figure. He could only see him on TV and the internet, so he could not help but feel anxious. If he offended Lu Chen and made Lu Chen unhappy, the company's boss would probably skin him alive. When he came over this morning, the boss had pulled his ear and warned him repeatedly. He didn't expect Lu Chen to be so approachable, without any airs of a big star, which made him feel relieved. Manager Zhang was still thinking whether it was appropriate to ask Lu Chen for an autograph later. His daughter was a fan of Lu Chen. Knowing that her father had a working relationship with Lu Chen, she was so excited as if she had won a 5 million prize. Lu Chen didn't know the entanglement in his heart at this moment and nodded to Wang Yong, who had been following him. Wang Yong was originally the coach of the Borui Club. Later, he and a group of people from the Borui Club were taken over by Lu Chen from Li Mushi and formed the Lu Family Squad, which was now quite famous in Hong Kong. The Lu Family Squad participated in the filming of the movie A Chinese Ghost Story and the TV series You from the Star and became an important force under Chenfei Media. However, for Lu Chen's full-scale martial arts IP plan, the current number of Lu Family Squad members was far from enough. That's why there was the 8 Storms meet in the capital. Lu Chen wanted to use this talent show to select excellent talents to expand the Lu Family Squad, so that he could show off his skills. The idea of the water challenge came from the memory of the dream world. It combined the characteristics of domestic and foreign programs in the dream world. Although the facilities could not be perfect due to time constraints, it was no problem as a tool to measure the ability of the contestants. The 7 levels had corresponding requirements for the contestants' physical fitness and responsiveness. It was easy for ordinary people to pass 1 or 2 levels, but it was not easy to pass 3 or 4 levels. The later levels were even more difficult. If they could break through all the levels, they would definitely be excellent talents worthy of training. After receiving Lu Chen's instructions, Wang Yong immediately called out, "Li Xiaoguang, you go up and try first." "Okay." A young man standing on the edge of the pool answered and quickly ran to the starting platform to move his hands and feet to warm up. He was also a member of the Lu family squad and came to the swimming pool as a tester today. Beep as the whistle sounded, all the equipment that had been set up and installed was activated at the same time. The movable parts, including soft leather, moved up and down or began to rotate under the drive of the safety and waterproof motor, and a stream of water sprayed out. After warming up, Li Xiaoguang took a step and jumped onto the air cushion floating on the water. He strode along the pontoon bridge composed of short and narrow air cushions, and in the blink of an eye, he broke through the first level. His neat performance won bursts of applause from the onlookers at the scene. Chapter 789. Lu Chen's team was created by Lu Chen. At present, there were more than 20 official members, all of whom were signed to Chenfei Media. It could be called Lu Chen's important team. Although the number was small, Lu Chen's investment in this team was not low at all. The salary of the Lu family team members was higher than that of ordinary white-collar workers in Beijing, and they received a lot of subsidies during the filming period. Moreover, Lu Chen often trained with the Lu family team. The team's cohesion was very high, and their work performance was excellent. Li Xiaoguang was the youngest member of the Lu family team. He had just retired from the army last year, but his skills were very good. He also played a small supporting role in You from the Star and was highly regarded by Wang Yong. Therefore, for this test challenge, Wang Yong sent him first, and Li Xiaoguang did not disappoint Wang Yong's expectations. He cleanly passed 2 levels in less than 30 seconds. According to the rules of the challenge, the time to pass was limited, and it was a bonus. Naturally, the faster, the better. Li Xiaoguang's results were undoubtedly very good. However, the difficulty of the 3rd stage, Torrential Rush, suddenly increased, and Li Xiaoguang was a little impatient. There were several times when he was almost washed into the pool by the jet of water. He completely relied on his extraordinary skills to adjust himself. The thrilling scene caused the onlookers to exclaim and gasp in surprise. At the scene of the swimming pool, in addition to the factory personnel who installed the equipment, there were many staff members of the swimming pool. Most of them were here to watch the fun or to see the stars. Of course, the latter was more common. But now everyone's attention was focused on Li Xiaoguang, to see if he could pass the 4th level. Under everyone's gaze, Li Xiaoguang learned the previous lesson and did not dare to underestimate an advance. He steadily passed through the more difficult overturning rivers and seas, and finally jumped onto the floating valve. It took a total of 5 minutes and 27 seconds to pass the 4 levels. After successfully passing the level, he excitedly waved his fist, which attracted bursts of applause from the audience. Manager Zhang smiled and said to Lu Chen, "This young man is really good. If I were to go up, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to pass the 1st level." Lu Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Well, let's try someone else." Since it was a test, the test sample should be more comprehensive. Li Xiaoguang was an elite member of the Lu family team. His performance could only be used as a basis for equipment debugging. According to his requirements, the difficulty of the challenge could be adjusted. If ordinary people could pass the 4th level, then it should be a little more difficult. After all, there were many people participating in the official audition. As soon as Chen made the request, someone volunteered, and it was the swimming pool staff. The swimming pool originally had water entertainment programs, but the creative form of the Grand Challenge was undoubtedly very new to them, and it looked very fun, so there were many people who were eager to give it a try. Of course, Luchin agreed. The equipment was able to be installed so quickly. In addition to the strength of the custom-made manufacturer, it was also indispensable to the strong support of the natatorium. Not only needed the swimming pool, but also needed to help. During the swimming pool, the Chen had also needed the swimming pool. But he also needed to help, the swimming pool had needed. Zhang's show Chen's SS the swimming pool. In addition, Lu Chen could also see the swimming pool's intention. But it was not a big deal. If the swimming pool needed it, all the equipment could be sold to them after the program was recorded. It was a win-win situation. With Lu Chen's approval, the natatorium immediately sent 2 staff members, a man and a woman, to change into swimsuits and go into battle. Moreover, they were carefully selected handsome men and beautiful women. This is not surprising. In addition to Lu Chen being present for the equipment debugging, the CCTV variety channel has also sent personnel to track and shoot materials on the scene. The natatorium naturally has to take the opportunity to show its face and promote the swimming pool. For them, this cooperation with Chinfei Media and CCTV Variety Channel was like a big pie falling from the sky, and they really valued it. As a result, 2 temporary contestants, one fell in the 2nd level, and the other was washed into the pool by the torrent of the 3rd level. Neither of them could pass all the levels. That's about it. Lu Chen was very satisfied and said to Manager Zhang, "The difficulty doesn't need to be adjusted, but the equipment must be maintained in place to ensure stable operation during the program recording. And the equipment for the next 3 levels must be made as soon as possible." "Don't worry," as the representative of the equipment manufacturer, Manager Zhang said with a smile, "there is no problem with the quality. Our drive and control motors are imported, and we can guarantee that there will be no delay." Although this business came suddenly, and their company had spent a lot of effort and paid a lot of price, they could also get rich profits, and there were long-term benefits. Once the program was successful, there would be more orders flying in. Would this program be successful? That's 100% certain, because there's Lu Chen's resounding signboard. He smiled and said, "Teacher Lu, don't you want to try it yourself? Give me more valuable experience." This Manager Zhang was actually just casually saying that. Most of it was just a joke, but Lu Chen's heart really moved after hearing it. He nodded and said, "That's fine too." Manager Zhang didn't expect that his suggestion would be accepted by Lu Chen. He was stunned for a moment, and then he was overjoyed. If Lu Chen went in person, the publicity effect would be great. Lu Chen was a man who did what he said. He asked his assistant to find a pair of shorts for him first, and then he went to the changing room to change. It was freezing outside, but the indoor swimming pool was air-conditioned, and there was a thermostatic swimming pool, so Lu Chen simply took off his shirt and went in directly bare-chested. As a result, as soon as he appeared, he immediately attracted everyone's attention, especially a few young girls present. They were even looking at him with stars in their eyes. If it weren't for the rules of the on-site work, I'm afraid that they would immediately take out their mobile phones to secretly take pictures. Lu Chen was a star artist with both strength and idol. He was tall, handsome, and had a sunny and healthy appearance, but he rarely showed his body like today. He was not a muscular man, but he had a well-proportioned body, a wide back, a narrow waist, and smooth abdominal muscles. He gave people the feeling that he contained infinite power. In terms of temperament, he completely crushed the little fresh meats that filled the entertainment circle. The 2 cameras arranged on the scene were aimed at Lu Chen at the same time. Lu Chen stood at the starting point, warmed up his hands and feet for 2 minutes, and then, under everyone's gaze, rushed to the first pontoon bridge. His speed was as fast as a hunting leopard, extremely fast and vigorous. The swimming pool was silent, and the camera's lens firmly followed the figure of Lu Chen's fast running, faithfully recording all his movements on the hard disk. Chapter 790. Beijing, Changshi Road, Shoe Flavor Hot Pot Restaurant. Food was the most important thing to the people. Most Chinese people were foodies, so the domestic food industry was particularly developed. It was unparalleled in the world. As long as there was a restaurant with a little specialty, whether it was a big restaurant or a small restaurant, there would always be a lot of customers. In recent years, the most special hot pot in Enchanting had become popular all over the country. Many hot pot restaurants with Sichuan characteristics had opened in the capital, and their business was also booming. Although Sichuan hot pot was very different from the beef and mutton hot pot that northerners often ate, people from all over the country gathered in the capital, plus tens of millions of tourists every year, so there was no lack of customers. Moreover, spicy hot pot was poisonous. Once you liked it, you would be poisoned and want to eat it every few days. The Shoe Flavor hot pot restaurant chain had been in the capital for only half a year, and it had already opened 3 branches. There were so many customers that there was basically no free time, especially since the beginning of winter. If customers arrived late, there would be no seats at all and they could only wait in the lounge outside. Today was the Lunar New Year. The temperature in the capital had dropped sharply a few days ago, and it had snowed several times in a row. It was so cold that even a drop of water would turn into ice. At this time, it was really a good time to call 3 to 5 friends to sit in front of the hot pot and eat spicy hot pot. Although it was already past 8:00 in the evening, the Shoe Flavor hot pot restaurant chain on Changshi Road was still booming. The hall was full, and there were even people waiting in the lounge to get a number. They were ready to eat dinner and supper together. In the hall that was filled with the strong smell of hot pot, Meng Hu carried a hot kettle in one hand and a tray full of dishes in the other. He quickly and flexibly passed between the tables and delivered the food to the waiting customers. After delivering the orders, he could finally sit in the staff room to take a breather and fill his already rumbling stomach. The normal staff meal was around 4:00 in the afternoon, but Meng Hu was able to work and eat, so an extra meal was necessary. Although the extra meal in the evening was very simple, a big bowl of rice and mixed meat soup, Meng Hu was already very satisfied. Because the food and accommodation in the hot pot restaurant were free, he could basically save the money he earned. Meng Hu and a few of his classmates had been in Beijing for almost 2 weeks. Their luck was pretty good. Due to a large number of migrant workers leaving Beijing to celebrate the new year, various service industries were in urgent need of temporary workers, so they quickly found a job. Including Meng Hu, there were 5 students from Hengyang Martial Arts School. Some were waiters, some were couriers, and some were delivery boys. Even though they were temporary workers, their wages were not low. This was especially the case for delivery. The more deliveries, the more money they would earn. The salary would be doubled during the Chinese New Year. It was very tempting, but Meng Hu considered that he was completely unfamiliar with Beijing and did not have a good sense of direction, so he chose to be a waiter. This job wasn't bad. Not to mention that food and lodging were provided, he could earn at least 200 yuan a day with double hourly pay. He could live in Beijing for a month and still have 5,000 to 6,000 yuan to send back home. He was already very satisfied. Tiger, Meng Hu had just finished the last mouthful of meat soup mixed with rice in his bowl when the door to the staff room was pushed open. Li Dongyang jumped in with a sneaky smile on his face. "I knew you were hiding here to eat alone." Meng Hu couldn't help but roll his eyes. "What?" Li Dongyang also worked at the Shoe Flavor hot pot restaurant. According to him, brothers must be together so that they could take care of each other. However, he chose to help in the kitchen, saying that he wanted to secretly learn some skills. Maybe he could open his own hot pot restaurant in the future. In terms of quick-wittedness, Meng Hu was definitely not as smart as Li Dongyang. Li Dongyang presented his phone as if he was presenting a treasure. "Let me show you something good." Meng Hu's eyelids suddenly twitched. He instinctively looked around, then lowered his voice and said, "You're crazy. You're watching this during working hours. Aren't you afraid of being caught and fired?" The shoe flavor hot pot restaurant had good treatment, but the rules were very strict. Even temporary workers were no exception. Li Dongyang snickered and said, "What are you thinking? Do you think I'm going to show you a porn video? If you want to see it, then I'll download it for you when I go back to the dormitory tonight." Seeing that Meng Hu's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, he chuckled and said, "I'm not joking. You'll know when you see it." Meng Hu was very distrustful of Li Dongyang's character, but he still took the phone suspiciously. As a result, he really wronged his good friend this time. What Li Dongyang showed him was not an indescribable love action film, but a video in the latest blog of Qin Fei Media. Meng Hu gave up going home for the new year and came to the capital. The main purpose was not to work and make money, but to participate in the talent show, The Eight Storms Meet in the Capital, that would be held after the new year, so he was very sensitive to this news. He and Li Dongyang both registered the account of Wave's blog, and followed Lu Qin, Qin Fei Media, and even the blogs of Central Television. At the same time, they saved several related forums so that they could get first-hand information. Recently, for the actor talent show of the movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, the official blog of Qin Fei Media frequently released news to maintain attention, but there was not much useful content. But the video that was released tonight was absolutely the real thing. It was impressively the test process of the audition, and Lu Qin personally went to the test. It was completely leaked by the official. It was really useful. Meng Hu's attention was immediately attracted. He stared at the screen without blinking, for fear of missing the details of every frame. Although he got the qualification to participate in the official audition, Meng Hu still knew nothing about the show. He only knew that he had to pass 7 stages, but he was completely unclear about what the 7 stages were. Now that the official video was released, if he did not take the opportunity to study it carefully, it would be equivalent to giving up the opportunity. After watching the 17-minute video, Meng Hu was lost in thought. Li Dongyang was a little uneasy and asked, "Tiger, how do you feel? Can we do it?" "Of course we can." Meng Hu clenched his fist and said, "I can definitely pass these 4 stages. But," he whispered again, "I'm afraid I can't be as fast as Lu Qin." The 19-year-old boy was a little depressed, because in the video, Lu Qin's skills and reflexes were amazing. He was not a layman, and he deeply understood the meaning of it. Li Dongyang laughed, patted him on the shoulder and said, "Who asked you to compare with Lu Qin? Is he someone we can compare with? We just need to be faster and better than other contestants." Meng Hu nodded. But in this young man's heart, he regarded Lu Qin as his goal to chase after. He wanted to be as fast and strong as Lu Qin. Chapter 791. The video released by Qin Fei Media on the eve of the Lunar New Year's Eve caused a heated response on the internet as expected. People like Meng Hu and Li Dongyang, who had already qualified for the audition, were naturally the most concerned about the content of the information revealed in the video. Although they could only see the settings of the first 4 stages, they were now more confident than before when they were completely in the dark. Knowing the rules of the competition, seeing the operation of the equipment, coupled with the demonstrations of many people in the video, as long as they were not stupid, they could figure out a set of experience that suited them. However, Meng Hu and Li Dongyang were only a small group of people who entered the audition. Most of the netizens and fans were completely focused on different things. "Wow, is this the New Year's benefit? TSK TSK TSK, Lu Qin's body is really unparalleled. It beats a bunch of little fresh meats in seconds. Don't compare little fresh meats to my chin. It's an insult. Haha, this game is quite fun. I want to try it too. Where is this? Isn't it cold? My chin is so handsome. Sigh, he could have made a living with his strength, but he chose to show off his body. He's crazy. I love it. Countless fans, especially female fans, reposted the video. They covered their faces and screamed with all kinds of love emojis. They loved him to death. Speaking of which, Lu Chen had announced his relationship with Qin Fei a long time ago. Their relationship had always been sweet and stable, and they were regarded as the best couple in the entertainment industry. However, Lu Chen's fans, especially female fans, were also growing. This was actually not logical. When Lu Chen first debuted, he was regarded as more of an idol star. When an idol male star had a girlfriend, it would naturally disillusion many female fans, and they would often lose a lot of fans. Therefore, many artists did not easily disclose their relationships, or simply remained single. However, looking back at Lu Chen's road to fame over the past 3 years, it was normal for such a situation to occur. He did not rely on his looks, but his strength and talent to attract fans. In recent years, Lu Chen had continuously produced good works. The trilogy of urban romance had earned him a lot of popularity. Although he lost some fans when his relationship was first disclosed, the increase later on was too crazy. In fact, after many female fans had stopped being his fans, they would join him again and become true hardcore fans. They were undoubtedly Lu Chen's staunchest supporters. After accepting Lu Chen's relationship, their admiration for him increased. In their eyes, the video released by Qinfei Media could be called welfare. There were all kinds of praises, laughter, and ridicule, which made the blog lively. When ordinary passers-by saw this, they could only sigh deeply at Lu Chen's popularity. Just by showing off his figure, he was able to climb to the top of the trending list. It was an embarrassment to those in the industry who had spent so much effort to buy fans and popularity to gain their position. In contrast, the male fans were much more rational. Except for a few guys with special sexual orientations, no one pointed at Lu Chen's muscles. Everyone was once again shocked by Lu Chen's extraordinary skills. At the beginning of the video was Li Xiaoguang's test. In everyone's eyes, his performance was already extremely outstanding. Not only did he successfully pass 4 stages, but he also responded with ease and speed. It was almost impeccable. However, compared to Lu Chen, he was more than a level behind. Lu Chen was stronger and faster than him. According to the time at the scene, Li Xiaoguang took 5 minutes and 27 seconds to pass the 4 stages, while Lu Chen took 2 minutes and 22 seconds, less than half. In addition to the contestants who were going to participate in the audition, netizens, and fans, many television stations and people in the leisure and entertainment industry also had a strong interest in this video. What they were concerned about was naturally this very interesting challenge plan. It could totally be imported as a separate program or entertainment project to be produced. The most important thing was that once it was on CCTV, it would definitely become popular all over the country. Even if they registered the copyright and paid a high price to buy the authorization, it would still be a profitable business. So, many people rushed to contact Qinfei Media, wanting to follow and get some benefits. Even a few people with connections directly found Lu Chen in a roundabout way. However, Lu Chen was no longer in Beijing. The day after he completed the first test of the equipment in the swimming complex, he flew to Hangzhou with Qinfei, and will spend Valentine's Day in Hangzhou. Of course, the two didn't go to Hangzhou specifically to spend Valentine's Day, but Happy Entertainment's new game was about to be released. Happy Digital Interactive Entertainment Company, Limited, or Happy Entertainment for short, mainly operates online games and mobile games-related projects and businesses. It was a game company opened by Lu Chen and Gao He. Lu Chen invested tens of millions of yuan in Happy Entertainment and owned 90% of the shares. The first project produced by Happy Entertainment, Happy Farm, was a great success, creating a craze for stealing vegetables. In the end, the game was sold to QQ Games together with Happy Network at a high price of 575 million yuan. Although the craze for Happy Farm has subsided a lot, Happy Entertainment, the newborn calf, has also made a big name in the industry. Lu Chen's initial investment has returned dozens of times, and he continued to increase his investment, intending to make Happy Entertainment an important part of his wuxiao IP plan. At present, the online game/mobile version of Happy Entertainment's flagship, The Smiling, Proud World, is being produced, and at the same time, the production and internal testing of the new mobile game, Plants vs. Zombies, has been completed. The idea of this mobile game was naturally provided by Lu Chen, from the memory of the dream world. In fact, after selling Happy Farm, Lu Chen gave Gao He a total of 5 mobile game ideas and project ideas. In addition to Plants vs. Zombies, Happy Entertainment also launched Fruit Ninja at the end of last year. Although it was not as successful as Happy Farm, it also caused a new mobile game craze. For the current mobile game industry, technology has never been difficult, creativity is the most important, and Lu Chen's continuous creative ideas ensure that Happy Entertainment can stand at the top of the industry. When Lu Chen saw Gao He again, it was at the new headquarters of Happy Entertainment. After the sale of Happy Farm, Lu Chen directly bought an office building in the new Binjiang IT Industrial Park in Hangzhou as the company's new headquarters. It's just that he gave full control of Happy Entertainment to Gao He and his wife, and he was busy with his own business. Today is the first time he came to the company's new headquarters. It's also a shame to say that as the actual owner of Happy Entertainment, Lu Chen usually pays little attention to the company, and at most, he only talks to Gao He on the phone. Gao He also has complaints, so this time when the new game, Plants vs. Zombies, was released, he brought Chen Fei along to do his duty. Chapter 792. They haven't seen each other for more than half a year. Gao He's dress and temperament have changed significantly. If he used to be a technical otaku, then now he has the style of an industry elite and is much more confident. This is actually normal. After all, he is in charge of a game company with a total investment of hundreds of millions of yuan, more than 100 employees, and a well-known game company in the industry. But what hasn't changed is the friendship between him and Lu Chen. Old San, you should come to the company more often when you have time. In the VIP room of the company's new office building, Gao He joked, let's not talk about anything else. Let the employees see our big star chairman, and their morale will increase by 200%. Lu Chen smiled and said, aren't I here now? I bought a house in Hangzhou, and I will definitely come back often in the future. Gao He didn't believe it, you try to fool me. How many phone calls did I make this time to invite you over? Don't forget, Happy Entertainment is yours. Lu Chen was ashamed, the company's affairs all depend on you. I really can't handle it, so I can only rely on you. Gao He smiled and said, you can treat me like a cow or a horse. I owe you too. Shaoling said that we owe you a favor that we can't repay in our lifetime. All we can do is to do Happy Entertainment well. The first part was a joke, but the latter part was absolutely sincere. At the time of graduation, Gao He and Wang Shaoling faced a painful choice. Although they stuck to their love, they also endured the ruthless test of reality. If it weren't for Lu Chen's timely help and the establishment of Happy Entertainment, it would be difficult to say whether the love between the two would blossom and bear fruit now. Maybe they would have parted ways under the pressure of reality. There are really too many similar things. Lu Chen shook his head, we are brothers. Let's not talk about this. Do Old K and Old C have any contact with you? Gao He said, Old K immigrated to the United States. I basically have no contact with him, and I don't know any news about him. I sent him several messages, but he didn't reply. Old C is doing well in fading, but he has little contact with him. On the other hand, our class monitor Chow often asks you on QQ about when you will organize a class reunion. Life was like floating duckweed. After graduation, everyone went their separate ways. Everyone had their own opportunities and lives. Some people could become lifelong friends, while others would unknowingly lose contact. It's rare to reunite, and the topic between Lu Qin and Gao He can't help but turn to the memories of the past. There were always beautiful things that were worth reminiscing about. While the two of them were chatting, Wang Xiaoling was accompanying Chen Feier to play mobile games. The game they were playing was Happy Entertainment's upcoming Plants vs. Zombies. This strategy game was Happy Entertainment's first release, taking over half a year of painstaking work to complete. The quality of the game was without a doubt outstanding. Under Wang Xiaoling's guidance, Chen Feier quickly mastered the technique and was having a lot of fun. The biggest feature of this strategy game is that it's easy to get started, and it's very playable and addictive. The content of the game is actually very simple. Players can quickly and effectively block zombies on the road of invasion by arming a variety of plants to switch different functions and eliminate them. With the quality and creativity of the game, promotion naturally becomes the top priority. Although good wine is not afraid of deep alleys, clever marketing is a multiplier of benefits, and it can achieve the effect of moving 1,000 pounds with little effort. And this time, the responsibility of publicity still fell on Chen Feier. Last time Happy Farm could become popular quickly, Chen Feier's blog post contributed a lot. Her number of fans on Wave's blog is second only to Lu Qin, and her influence is great. Now it's nothing more than the same trick. Chen Feier rarely uses blogs to do product marketing, but her own things are definitely an exception. After inspecting the company's new headquarters and encouraging the employees who worked overtime for the new year, Gao He and his wife treated them to dinner in the evening. After the reunion, Lu Qin and Chen Feier lived in their own home in Hangzhou. The new house in Hangzhou has been bought for a while, but the two spent most of their time in Beijing. They really didn't spend much time living here. However, before coming over, they had asked their assistant to hire someone to clean it up, so it was very clean. After taking a shower, Chen Feier leaned lazily in Lu Chen's arms. She mischievously drew circles on Lu Chen's chest with her fingers and asked, "It will be Valentine's Day in a few days. How are you going to spend it?" Lu Chen frowned, "I don't know. Shopping, eating, watching movies," Chen Feier said, "Old-fashioned." Lu Chen smiled and turned over to press her under his body, "Then let's think about it while doing it." Chen Feier giggled and reached out to hug his neck, "You're so annoying." In the bedroom, there was a spring scene. February 12th, 2 days before Valentine's Day. Happy Entertainment released the mobile puzzle game Plants vs. Zombies version 1.0 on different mobile platforms. On that day, the single-player game surpassed 3 million downloads, causing quite a stir in the industry. The competition in the mobile game market was extremely intense. Big and small mobile game companies or companies that developed mobile games were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. The entire market had become a sea of blood. The more games there were, the more options the players had to choose from. The industry was now moving towards large-scale MMOs, and Plants vs. Zombies as a single-player game would be very difficult to compete with. However, the game quickly became a success and gained a good reputation in the market. First of all, Happy Entertainment had 2 successful games, Happy Farm and Fruit Ninja. In particular, Fruit Ninja had more than 50 million downloads, so Plants vs. Zombies stood at a very high starting point. Most importantly, Plants vs. Zombies was a very fun game. It was a great way to kill time on mobile. It was very creative and fun, and the characters were cute enough. It was very easy for users who didn't like or didn't have the time to play online games. And with Chen Feier's marketing for the game, it quickly gained a large number of fans. Since Plants vs. Zombies was a free game, and it was released before Valentine's Day. Some fans asked if it was a Valentine's Day gift from Lu Qin and Chen Feier. That was definitely not the case. Lu Qin and Chen Feier's real Valentine's Day gift to their fans were 2 songs. One song from Lu Qin and one song from Chen Feier, and they were for the single people. Chapter 793. Hangzhou, Baidi. After nightfall, Westlake had a completely different view than during the day. A waning moon hung high in the sky, and specks of starlight decorated the night sky. Compared with the scenery of lakes, mountains, and thousands of lights in the world, it was dazzling. Today was the 29th of the Lunar New Year, so there shouldn't be many tourists on the Baidi. However, the broken bridge was bustling with people, and there were couples everywhere. Because today was also Valentine's Day, many couples came here to take a walk, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the romantic time that belonged to 2 people, or sit by the lake or under the willow trees and whisper to each other. The air was filled with a sweet atmosphere. Lu Qin and Chen Feier walked in the crowd hand in hand. Both of them were wearing masks, and Chen Feier also added a knitted wool hat, so they didn't have to worry about being recognized. The most important thing was that the people around them were most concerned about the couple around them at this moment, and they wouldn't notice the existence of 2 big stars among them. Chen Feier's eyes were curved, and she held Lu Chen's hand and jumped a few times from time to time, as if she was a little girl who had just been immersed in love, exuding joy and happiness from the inside out. This was the 3rd Valentine's Day they had spent together. On this special day, they recalled their encounter, acquaintance, and love together. They felt that this was the greatest happiness in life. This handsome guy. As soon as they crossed the broken bridge, a little girl with a large bouquet of roses in her arms suddenly came out of the crowd and blocked their way. She looked up at Lu Qin and said, "Today is Valentine's Day. Your girlfriend is so beautiful, why don't you buy her a bouquet of roses?" Her serious expression seemed to accuse Lu Qin of his heinous crimes. Chen Feier couldn't help but laugh. She knew that it was just a marketing trick, but she was still very happy. Lu Qin deliberately teased the little girl. "How do you know she's beautiful?" Chen Feier had covered herself up tightly, only showing her eyes and nose, so her real face couldn't be seen. The little girl said very seriously, "You are so handsome, this big sister must be a beauty with a handsome guy." Even Lu Qin was amused. "How much do you sell your flowers for?" Looking at the cute girl in front of him, Lu Qin couldn't help but think of last year's Valentine's Day. Last Valentine's Day, he and Chen Feier had spent it in Xiangjiang. He remembered that at that time, they had also met a flower seller on the streets of Xiangjiang and bought a basket of roses. The little girl replied, "1 stick is 10 yuan, a bunch of 11 sticks is 100 yuan. At the same time, she blinked her big black eyes and looked at Lu Qin with anticipation. Chen Feier was a little more cautious and asked, "Little girl, aren't your parents worried about you selling flowers alone?" The little girl turned her head and pointed to a couple pushing a flower cart by the side of the broken bridge. "They're over there," Lu Qin smiled and said, "Take us there. I'll buy more." It was freezing outside, and it was the 29th day of the Lunar New Year. A family coming to the broken bridge to sell flowers was undoubtedly to make a living. Seeing that the little girl's face was red from the cold, he couldn't help but feel pity for her. "Okay." The little girl knew that she had caught a big business, so she agreed crisply. The flower cart was a tricycle. There were 4 or 5 plastic buckets on the board, all of which were bunches of packaged roses. The couple were selling enthusiastically, but business was not very good. "Mom, this brother said he wants to buy a lot of roses." The little girl selling flowers came over with Lu Qin and shouted happily. The middle-aged man was surprised and quickly asked, "Hello, how many roses do you need? If there are a lot, we can give you a discount and free packaging." Lu Qin asked, how many roses do you have here? How many? The middle-aged man looked at the roses in the cart awkwardly, and then counted the roses in his daughter's hand. He was stunned. His wife reacted quickly, more than 500, less than 600, about 570 or 80. Lu Chen nodded, I want all of them. How much is it? All of them. The couple suddenly showed a look of surprise. They had met the legendary local tyrant. The middle-aged man said, if you want all of them, you can give me 5,000. When he said this number, he was uneasy. After all, the purchase price was less than 1/3. Lu Chen said with a smile, 5,000 is fine. Can I use QQ transfer? He didn't have so much cash on him, but it was very common to use mobile phone to pay now. Even the tea-eggs had a payment QR code. Therefore, there was no problem with QQ transfer. Lu Chen took a rose and said to the couple, I want this one. You can help me give away the rest here. When they heard Lu Chen say, I want this one, the couple were dumbfounded. They thought they had been fooled, and then they were dumbfounded, give them all away. It wasn't until Lu Chen transferred 5,000 yuan with his mobile phone that they woke up from a dream. Knowing that Lu Chen wasn't joking, they quickly agreed. Lu Chen handed the rose in his hand to Chen Fei, and said with a smile, Happy Valentine's Day, dear. Chen Fei, smiled sweetly and took the rose. Her eyes were full of emotion. The crowd quickly gathered around, not because they found out the identity of the two, but because the free rose distribution began. All the couples who passed the broken bridge received a flower symbolizing love. There was a lingering fragrance in the hand of giving roses. Lu Chen pulled Chen Fei, and quietly withdrew from the crowded crowd with happiness. The Mercedes-Benz driven by Zhang Xiaofang was waiting by the broken bridge. After they got in the car, they went straight to Hangzhou Airport. Tomorrow was New Year's Eve. Because Lu Chen and Chen Fei were going to participate in the Spring Festival Gala, they booked a ticket to return to Beijing tonight. Now the time was just right. On the way to the airport, Zhang Xiaofang turned on the car radio. Welcome to FM 103. 7 City Voice Radio. Today is Valentine's Day, well, a very special day. The host's soft voice, accompanied by soft music, spread in the car. Here, I wish all couples can love each other for a lifetime. In addition, I also want to give 2 Valentine's Day songs to all the listeners who are still single, including myself. First is Single Love Song from Lu Chen. Lu Chen and Chen Fei couldn't help but look at each other and smile. Chen Fei gently leaned her head on Lu Chen's shoulder. I, who can't hold on to love, always watch it slip away. There are happy people everywhere in the world, why can't I be one of them? For the sake of love, I have long suffered enough of the pain of love. There are people who are lost in love everywhere. Love, the more frustrated you are, the stronger you become. Love, you must be persistent. Every single person must see through it. If you want to love, don't be afraid of pain. Note, Single Love Song lyricist, Yi Jiafu/composer, Chen Yaochuan. Chapter 794. The new Mercedes-Benz worth 2.7 million has excellent sound insulation. There is almost no noise when driving on the road. The standard car stereo is even more high-end, accurately restoring the digital music played by the FM radio station. Find a dear person you love the most, love deeply, and want to love, to say goodbye to being single. A passionate, infatuated, heartless, and ruthless person, to give me scars. There are so many sad people. This Single Love Song was recorded by Lu Chen in the recording studio of Chenfei Media headquarters a few days ago. It was first released on Wave's blog last night. It was a new song customized for Valentine's Day, for all fans who were still single on Valentine's Day. Although Lu Chen has long since got rid of his singleness, and has a heavenly queen girlfriend and sweet love that everyone envies, but for this special work, he still poured considerable emotion into it and sang the style of the work. Rich but not dignified, smooth but not mediocre, pleasant but not seeking credit, this song truly sang the pursuit and desire of those single people for love. It was both tender and delicate, and wild and unrestrained. The style of the song leaned towards rock and roll, which easily resonated with the audience. This song, Single Love Song, also shows Lu Chen's singing skills incisively and vividly. To a certain extent, it is also his dazzling work, especially the interpretation of the climax of the song, which makes people's hearts tremble when they listen to it. Especially on a day like Valentine's Day, hearing such a song, whether it was unloved, in love, or in love, everyone would have their own feelings. It was worth mentioning that as a special new song for Valentine's Day, the studio version of Single Love Song, released by Lu Chen on his blog, broke through 1 million downloads in just 2 hours, and now it has reached more than 5 million. The praise was overwhelming. Because it was a genuine free download, the speed of dissemination was naturally extremely fast. It was normal to hear this song on Hangzhou's radio station. This is Single Love Song from Lu Chen. I hope everyone likes it. I'm Su Jia, the host of FM 103. 7 City Voice Radio Music accompany you. I'm here to accompany all the single people to celebrate this Valentine's Day. I hope you can find your true love in the new year. Alright, the next song, is also very special. This song is also Lu Chen's new work, but it's not sung by him. It's his. The host of the radio station kept everyone in suspense, but he quickly revealed the mystery. I think everyone should know or have guessed it. The second song was written and composed by Lu Chen and sung by Chen Feier. It's Valentine's Day Without a Lover, hee hee. The hostess with a soft and beautiful voice smiled happily. A single love song and a Valentine's Day Without a Lover. Don't you think that the Valentine's Day gifts given to us by this pop music superstar couple are very special? Of course, some people will say that this is rubbing salt in our wounds. Don't cry, I'm here with you. Hearing this, Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. He said to Chen Fei, this guy is interesting. Chen Fei, tilted his head and pondered, Su Jia. I think I've heard this name before. The music started. Valentine's Day Without a Lover, there will be a feeling of loneliness, for the person you love doesn't understand, and the longing is still in your heart. Valentine's Day Without a Lover, unexpectedly receiving a card of comfort. I think the heart that loved has found out. Happy Valentine's Day, Happy Valentine's Day. I only hear sad music. Compared with Lu Chen's Single Love Song, this Valentine's Day Without a Lover had a very different style. It was a graceful memory with a touch of sadness, and through the interpretation of Chen Fei's angelic voice, it seemed to sing into the depths of people's souls. Lu Chen gently held Chen Fei in his arms and quietly listened to the song, unaware of the passage of time. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, another year was about to pass. On the night of Chinese New Year's Eve, hundreds of millions of people, including overseas Chinese, had a sumptuous New Year's Eve dinner and set off fireworks and firecrackers. Then, they stayed in front of their TVs or computers to watch the live broadcast of the Spring Festival Gala of the Year of the Dog. The bright moon shines above the sea, and we share this moment together. Ever since the Spring Festival Gala appeared on the screens of Central TV, this large-scale variety gala had become an indispensable New Year's Eve meal for the Chinese people, and it was known as the New Year's custom. After watching the Spring Festival Gala, the year was finally over. After New Year's Eve was the first day of the Lunar New Year. After tasting the feast of the Spring Festival Gala, everyone naturally had to comment on it. Whether it was good or bad, it had become a tradition today. Among them, the most active were naturally the various media outlets. Just after New Year's Eve, topics related to the Spring Festival Gala were everywhere. Some discussed the programs, some commented on the celebrities, and some discussed the rankings, but the most important thing was the audience's reputation. In recent years, the ratings and reputation of the Spring Festival Gala had been deteriorating. Although its status as the top gala was unshakable, the criticism from the media and the audience was endless, and it even became more and more intense. Commercial advertisements, lip-syncing, corporate New Year's greetings, the host's insincere smile, and some of the language programs that were not clever and funny, and so on, had become a part of the vulgarization of the Spring Festival Gala. In particular, the language programs lacked innovation and plagiarized a large number of online jokes, which made the young audience tired of the aesthetic. All kinds of complaints were made, and it was quite embarrassing. In fact, it was not only the language programs. Even the song programs were not much better. Although the invited celebrities were all big names, they were always singing old songs, and it was difficult for new works to stand out, which made it hard for the audience to be excited. What made the Spring Festival Gala go from New Year's vulgarity to new vulgarity? There might be more than one answer. Central TV was also facing great pressure, so they specially invited Chinguishi for the Year of the Dog Spring Festival Gala. They tried to use this great director's experience and new perspective to reverse the situation. If the Spring Festival Gala was an extremely difficult test, then what kind of answer would Chinguishi hand in? After Central TV announced the news last year, the media's attention was focused on him. Some people thought that Chinguishi was looking for trouble. There was no need to get involved with a hot potato like the Spring Festival Gala. Some people also thought that Chinguishi should be able to bring something new to the Spring Festival Gala. Perhaps there would be a surprise. After all, this great director was good at creating miracles, and his works often surprised people. But regardless of whether they were optimistic or not, what everyone hoped for was to be able to enjoy a gala that would make people feel happy and happy. And now that the audience's marking was over and the results were announced, whether Chinguishi would be able to keep his reputation or not would depend on the media's headlines today. Note: Valentine's Day Without a Lover lyrics, Wang Yixiong / composer, Lu Zhenhuang. Chapter 795. 93, 78%. Central TV's Spring Festival Gala ratings return. The audience's praise is good. Chinguishi's first director of the Spring Festival Gala has given a satisfactory answer. Seeking a breakthrough in tradition, this year's Spring Festival Gala will finally no longer disappoint and ridicule. Counting the highlights of this year's Spring Festival Gala. The fastest to react was always the online media. Just after New Year's Eve, all the major websites' Spring Festival Gala features were updated with comments on this year's Spring Festival Gala. Among them, NetEase, QQ, and CCTV set up an audience voting session on New Year's Eve. All the viewers watching the Spring Festival Gala could vote for any of the acts, and finally choose the most popular act. The final results were officially announced on the morning of the first day of the new year. Among them, the skit, the protagonist and the supporting roles, the large-scale costume dance, Flourishing Age, Tomorrow Will Be Better, the multi-person acrobatic Golden Dragon Storms the Sea, and the closing song, An Unforgettable Night, respectively took the top 5 spots. The protagonist and the supporting roles, which was ranked first, had a favorable rating of 97.25%, setting the best record since the beginning of the online voting for the Spring Festival Gala programs. The excellent performances of the two famous skit performers, Gao Disheng and Zhu Kaiqiang, won almost everyone's unanimous applause. This skit did not use annoying online jokes, nor did it make fun of the disadvantaged for fun. There was no boring flattery of the main theme, and there was no forced tickling of the audience's armpits or pretentious language. There was no sensationalism or vulgarity. It relied on the story itself and humorous words to conquer the audience. The entire plot of the story was extremely tight, and the contradictions and conflicts were constantly climaxing. Gao Dixing and Lin Kai's performance was even more impeccable, especially Gao Dixing's performance of the supporting role was extremely vivid. His acting skills were strong enough to put a group of industry insiders to shame. And the media's evaluation of this skit was also excellent. Even those media reviewers who liked to mock and ridicule were not stingy with their praises. Some people even regarded it as the best skit in the history of the Spring Festival Gala, or at least one of them. Compared to the media, the audience, especially the netizens, had a more realistic evaluation. It's so interesting. Gao Dixing's acting is so good. My stomach hurts from laughing. Dad nearly choked on his laughter. It's a work of conscience. Central TV has finally come up with a decent program. The more skits like this, the better. I hope it will be even better. I didn't expect that a thick-browed, big-eyed Zhu Kaiqiang would also betray the revolution. What a joke, the audience's eyes were sharp. They knew very well what was sincerity and what was deceit. They were not stingy with their applause and sincere praise for the former. The Spring Festival Gala was a free New Year's Eve feast. Everyone hoped to eat delicious food, not cold rice that had been stir-fried several times or rotten ingredients. The ridicule and criticism in the past was actually a demand for higher spiritual enjoyment. On this point, the main character and the supporting roles beat its peers to the ground. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, the leading role and supporting role easily had more than 10 million views on CCTV, and the search volume on search engines had also exceeded 10 million, which showed how popular this program was. The influence of the protagonist and the supporting roles has been widely spread on the internet. In many forums, post bars, and QQ groups, a variety of emoticons and jokes have appeared. Among them, such as, "Captain, don't shoot, I didn't expect that you, XXX, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, would betray the revolution," are flying everywhere. Gao Dixing had been silent for several years, and Kevin Lin was about to retire from the entertainment industry. But with the help of the leading role and the supporting role, the two of them became famous again, and their popularity was far greater than before. Then, some attentive viewers discovered that the author of the leading role and the supporting roles was actually Lu Qin. At first, some people didn't believe it. After looking through the video of the program and finding the subtitles, they were shocked again. Is this Lu Qin the same Lu Qin? When did Lu Qin start writing skits? Puzzled, and curious fans have run to the Waves blog to seek confirmation, and Lu Qin, Qinfei Media, CCTV, and even Qinguoji. Then, it was director Qin who gave a response at the first time. Lu Qin is Lu Qin, not someone else. This made the fans explode. What the heck, this idol is too awesome. Everyone knew that Lu Qin's talent in pop music creation was unparalleled. They also knew that he could write such wonderful scripts as Autumn in My Heart and You from the Star, but they didn't expect him to also have such amazing talent in the creation of skits. Not only was it the creation of the leading role and the supporting role, everyone also discovered that Lu Qin had not only brought out a skit script for this year's Spring Festival Gala. Among the top 5 most popular programs, other than this skit, Tomorrow Will Be Better was also written by Lu Qin. Gently awaken your sleeping heart, and slowly open your eyes. See if the busy world is still spinning in loneliness. The spring wind doesn't understand the mood, blowing at the heart of a young man, letting the tears on yesterday's face dry with memories. Looking up to find wings in the sky, Tomorrow Will Be Better was a completely new song. The singers were a gathering of stars, including Lu Qin, Chen Fei, Lu Gangxing, Fang Yuehua, Zhang Fangfang. All of them were big stars. This work had a beautiful melody and an elegant style. It was full of positive energy and contained a strong humanistic sentiment, which easily resonated with the audience. Through the singing of the 7 stars, it became popular overnight. That was not all. Even the ending song of the Spring Festival Gala, An Unforgettable Night, also came from Lu Qin. In the past Spring Festival Gala, the ending song was a pure piece of music, the work of a deceased musician. It had not changed in the past 20 years, but this year was a major change. The melody of An Unforgettable Night was soothing and melodious, and the lyrics were warm and distant. It was easy to get close to the hearts of the audience, and it was also easy to sing. This song had a strong emotional tension and penetration. It not only expressed the sincere wishes when the banquet was about to end, but also expressed the infinite expectations and good wishes of meeting again in the coming year. The singer of this song was the famous female singer, Zhao Linyuan. She sang the song euphemistically with a soft and delicate voice, and her voice was pleasant to the ear. If not for the ending song, it would definitely be ranked higher. Of the top 5 works of the Spring Festival Gala, 3 were brought out by Lu Qin. Tomorrow Will Be Better and An Unforgettable Night showed his deep talent in different fields of music and songs, and it was admirable. A music critic sighed on his blog. To say that Lu Qin was a musical genius was belittling him. He already had the qualifications to be the godfather of pop music. What he lacked was just a few crowns in time. Note: Tomorrow Will Be Better. Lyrics: Luo Dayo, Zhang Dachuan, Su Naixing, Li Shouchuan, Zhang Aijia, Qiu Fuxing, Zhan Hongji / composer, Luo Dayo. Chapter 796. Zizi. The stainless steel fried basket was immersed in the yellow hot oil, and the frozen French fries in the basket immediately reacted wonderfully with the 170-degree palm olive oil, making a pleasant sound. After 1 minute and 30 seconds, Lu Qin lifted the fried basket out of the oil, shook it left and right about 5 times, and then put it into the oil pan again, so that it was finished in 2 minutes. In this process, the golden French fries completed a reborn change with the help of the boiling oil, and the air was filled with a strong fragrance, just waiting for the oil to be cleaned and loaded into the material box. Lu Qin has done the same job countless times in this KFC fast food restaurant. Even with his eyes closed, he will not make a mistake, and the time control is just right. Xiao Lu, are the French fries ready? A voice of inquiry came from outside, and Lu Qin replied without turning his head, "It'll be ready soon." Today is the weekend and it is dinner time, so business in the restaurant is particularly good. There is a long line in front of the 3 checkout counters, and the food is almost out of service. Although very tired, Lu Qin still insists on doing his best work. Although this job does not have much future prospects, it can help Lu Qin survive in Beijing, a super metropolis with a population of 30 million. After deducting the necessary monthly expenses, he can save some money to send home. Thinking of the heavy debt at home, Lu Qin let out a silent sigh in his heart, but his actions did not slow down in the slightest. He quickly packed the fries ordered by the customers and sent them to the counter. He was busy until after 9 o'clock, and business finally quieted down, leaving only a few customers in the restaurant to kill time or rest. Lu Qin was mopping the floor with a mop. Just now, a child accidentally spilled a drink on the ground, and Sister Wang, who was in charge of cleaning, went to the bathroom, so he took the initiative to do it. Squeak! The glass door was pushed open from the outside, and 3 men came in one after another. Lu Qin straightened up and smiled, "Welcome to KFC." The next moment, his voice froze. Lu Qin felt that the 3 people who had just entered were extremely familiar, as if they were the closest people to him. However, he just couldn't remember their names, so he was momentarily stunned. One of the men, who was wearing jeans and a t-shirt and had long hair hanging down to his shoulders, smiled and patted his shoulder, saying, "What's up? You don't even recognize us. We are your creditors." Creditors? Lu Qin's brain was a mess. He didn't remember owing the man money, but it wasn't right to say that he didn't know him. Lu Qin, another bespectacled, elegant middle-aged man, smiled and said, "Don't bother with him. He just doesn't know how to behave properly. We are very hungry. Hurry up and give us something to eat." Lu Qin nodded blankly. Okay, okay. What do you want to eat? He had forgotten that in KFC, customers would go to the cashier to order and pay, which was different from ordinary restaurants. The three of them sat down at a nearby table. The long-haired man shouted, "Give me a family bucket and a whole cow deluxe set meal. Add 3 more fries and add more ice cubes to the cola." Lu Qin noted it down and ran to the cashier in a daze to order. He even took out his own money to pay for the food. After a while, he sent the food over. The other party didn't stand on ceremony and chatted happily as they ate. The three of them were obviously very good friends. They chatted about a wide range of topics, including music, literature, and movies. Moreover, their conversations were quite interesting. Lu Qin, who was mopping the floor, listened attentively. The long-haired man talked the most. When he was talking about something, he even danced with joy. He was in high spirits and was unrestrained. The bespectacled man was cultured and refined. He could always keep up with the other party's topic, like a supporting character in a crosstalk. The other thin and tall man was much quieter. He was a man of few words, but he would always hit the nail on the head. He had a pair of dark eyes that were unfathomable. Lu Qin kept feeling that something was wrong. However, he was attracted by the topic of the three of them. His thoughts wandered and he didn't notice the passage of time until the sound of the closing bell rang. At that moment, there were only 3 customers left in the shop. Lu Qin came to his senses and walked over to say, "Sir, we are closing." The bespectacled man looked around at his companions and sighed. "Yes, it's time to go." He stood up and extended his hand toward Lu Qin. "Thank you for your hospitality. My name is Fang Mingyi." Lu Qin subconsciously shook hands with him. "Hello, my name is Lu Qin." The long-haired man stood up and extended his hand toward Lu Qin. "I am Su Bo. Now that we are even, you don't owe us anything anymore. Are you happy?" Lu Qin was speechless. The thin and tall man didn't shake hands with Lu Qin. He just took a deep look at Lu Qin and nodded. "His name is Mo Ran, an enigma." Su Bo patted Lu Qin's shoulder again and said, "We are leaving. We are going to Dianan to climb the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain." After that, the three of them left together. Lu Qin was stunned for a moment before he came to his senses. He immediately rushed out and shouted, "Don't go." However, on the empty street, they couldn't be seen at all. Lu Qin, just as Lu Qin was at a loss, a familiar voice came from the side. Lu Qin turned his head and saw a beautiful woman standing behind him with a complicated expression. "Wang Ying." Lu Qin blurted out, "Why are you here?" Wang Ying seemed to have made up her mind. She bit her lip and said, "Lu Qin, let's break up." "Break up?" Lu Qin felt that his head was about to explode. He couldn't believe his ears. "Why?" "I love you very much, but love can't replace reality. You can't give me what I want." Wang Ying talked endlessly, but Lu Qin couldn't hear a word. A kind of heart-wrenching pain spread in his body, and the cramps in his stomach made him involuntarily bend over and squat on the ground. "No." Lu Qin, when he was in so much pain that he couldn't control himself, an angelic voice sounded in his ear, replacing Wang Ying's incantation. Lu Qin reluctantly raised his head. The bright light shone on him, making him unable to see the other person's face. "Lu Qin." Another shout woke him up. Trying to open his eyes, Lu Qin found himself lying on the bed. The light on the bedside table was on. Qin Fei was holding him with a concerned look and asked softly, "Did you have a nightmare?" Lu Qin took a long breath and was completely awake. He asked, "What time is it?" Qin Fei said, "It's still early. Go back to sleep." Lu Qin didn't say anything, so she didn't ask. Lu Chen nodded and hugged her tightly in his arms, as if hugging the whole world. It's so good to have you. Chapter 797. After the Lantern Festival, the new year could be considered to be truly over. From the first day of the new year to the 15th day of the first lunar month, except for attending a scheduled endorsement event, Lu Chen had no work. He spent most of his time with his family to make up for the regret of not having dinner together on New Year's Eve. For this reason, Lu Chen also declined several important announcements. If the loss was measured by economic benefits alone, a few million was the least, but for him now, money was no longer important. Visiting the Forbidden City, climbing the Great Wall, visiting the Temple Fair, skiing, watching the flag raising in Tiananmen Square. As a 1,000-year-old ancient capital and a super-modern metropolis, there were still many places to go in half a month in the capital. At home on the night of the Lantern Festival, Fang Yun made Tang Yuan for her son and daughter to eat. Tomorrow, she would leave the capital with Lu Shui and return to Zhidong. Mom, Lu Chen ate 2 mouthfuls of the sweet and delicious Tang Yuan and said, "You should retire early and let Xiaoxua transfer to the capital. How nice it would be for our family to be together." Half a month's reunion made him relive the happiness and beauty of a big family, and the parting was beyond nostalgia. Lu Shi was very moved and said, yes, you might as well stay. We'll buy a villa, and we won't have to worry about not having a place to live. The housing prices in the capital were the highest in the country. It was almost impossible for ordinary people to settle down and buy a house in the capital. A few years ago, when the Lu family had not declined, they could not afford a villa in the capital. But now, not to mention Lu Qin, Lu Shi could easily come up with the down payment for a villa in the capital. Fang Yun said with a smile, "Let's talk about it later. My relatives and acquaintances are all in Binhai, and I'm used to it. I can't let you accompany me every day when I come to the capital to live, can I? Isn't it good now?" Lu Chen and Lu Shi looked at each other speechlessly. Fang Yun continued, "Now that you all have your own careers and Xiaoxua is in college, I have nothing to worry about, so you don't have to worry about me. If I want to come here in the future, it won't be too late to come back." After a pause, she said to Lu Shi, "You should also think about your own affairs. My brother is about to get married, and I can't still be single, right? Your career is important, but you can't neglect your personal life." As the manager of a media company with assets of more than 100 million yuan and the general manager of hundreds of employees, Lu Shi, who had been honed for several years, was an out-and-out strong woman, but her mother's tactful reminder made her speechless. After swallowing a glutinous rice ball, Lu Shi mumbled, "Got it." Lu Chen laughed. It was rare to see his sister look so guilty. Lu Shi was not afraid of him. She glared at him and scooped a few more glutinous rice balls from her bowl. "What are you laughing at? If you're not afraid of getting fat, eat more. If you really want your mother to live in the capital, then hurry up and have a few children with Fei." Lu Chen's smile suddenly turned into a wry smile. Chen Fei, who was sitting next to them, did not expect to be implicated. She blushed and lowered her head. Lu Shui hugged Chen Fei's arm and asked in a low voice, "Sister-in-law, when are you going to have a baby?" Chen Fei's face turned even redder and said, "You can ask your brother." Lu Chen quickly surrendered. "Let's eat glutinous rice balls. They won't taste good when they're cold. Everyone, eat later." Fang Yun looked at her son, daughter, and future daughter-in-law, and a heartfelt smile appeared on her face. Only such a home could be considered a real home. On the morning of March 3rd, the 16th day of the first lunar month, Fang Yun and Lu Shui returned to Hangzhou. On the same day, the challenge equipment for the swimming complex was all installed and passed the strict safety test. CCTV's preparation was also completed, and they could start the shooting and production of the show at any time. On March 5th, the audition for the actors of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer officially began. There were a total of 500 contestants from all over the country. These young people who were selected through the online audition would go through many rounds of selection and finally be qualified to participate in the shooting of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. They might become famous overnight. But first of all, they had to face a difficult test. The first was the elimination of the challenge. There were a total of 7 challenges, which would be the obstacle for everyone. Only a few people could stand out. According to the plan, the challenge audition would be completed in 15 days. CCTV Channel 2 would film the whole process and produce and broadcast 1 episode a day. Then there would be the semi-finals and the finals. For Chin Fei Media, after more than half a year of careful planning and preparation, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was about to start filming, which was undoubtedly a big event in the beginning of 2018. The movie The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would be divided into 3 parts: The Sword of the Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, The Undefeatable East, and the final battle of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer. They would all be finished within the year and would be released in the summer of this year, the Spring Festival, and the summer of next year. So far, the stars who had been confirmed to participate in the shooting of this series of movies included Lu Qin, Chin Fei, Lu Gangxing, and Tan Hong. In terms of the lineup, it was not inferior to other commercial blockbusters. However, according to Chin Fei Media's habits in film and television production, it was unlikely that there would be other big names or popular fresh meats who would participate in the film. It was very likely that they would bring a group of newcomers. In addition, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would be filmed in 2019, followed by the new martial arts drama The Legend of the Condor Heroes. At the end of this year, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would also be released. And at the end of this year, the online game of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer would also be released. At the beginning of the new year, Chin Fei Media showed a series of plans, which made people feel dazzled. The fans, especially the readers of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, were naturally cheering. However, for the people in the industry, what they saw was the ambition of Chin Fei Media, or more accurately, Lu Qin. Around The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, a big martial arts IP was gradually taking shape. It was emitting an aggressive light, which could not be ignored at all. The Wolf is Coming. This was the title of a film and television media person's blog post on his Waves blog. In terms of film and television, especially in terms of movies, Chin Fei Media should be regarded as a recruit. It should be known that as the founder of Chin Fei Media, Lu Qin has only made his debut for more than 3 years. Moreover, he made his debut as a singer. It has only been more than 2 years since he entered this circle. However, his halo was too dazzling. All 3 of his TV series had created viewership records and were popular throughout Southeast Asia. The box office of A Chinese Ghost Story was over 1 billion, and the sales of the peripherals made all the people in the industry feel ashamed. Now he was shooting 3 series of big movies at the same time, aiming at the golden period of this year and next. How could his opponents not tremble? Chapter 798. Suddenly, it was like a spring breeze, thousands of pear blossoms bloomed. Overnight, Wuxia became the most popular IP, and countless people had their eyes on it. The audition for the actors of The Storms of 8 Directions in the capital and The Smiling, Proud Wanderer was going on in the swimming complex of the capital. The program Challenge was also broadcast on the variety channel of CCTV2. The first episode got 5.78% of the audience rating. Although CCTV Variety Channel's brand was well known and the program's ratings were not too bad, to be able to achieve such a high rating in the first episode, the influence of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was the key. This talent show should be said to serve The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer movie. In the eyes of many people in the industry, it was destined to be popular. With CCTV's background, Lu Qin's brand, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer's fame, and a novel program idea, there was no possibility of failure. Many local satellite TV stations were already rubbing their hands, ready to copy this model. Even without the gimmick of a talent show, it was enough to attract people as an entertainment program. They could even add more content on this basis, expand the scope of participants, and set up more and more generous rewards. The manufacturer that customized the equipment for Chinfei Media was hit by a big pie that fell from the sky. This year's orders were all full, and the inquiries were endless. However, the TV station and entertainment industry following the trend was nothing compared to following the trend in the film and television industry. To this day, even an outsider could see that Lu Qin was going to make a name for himself in wuxia. The movie The Smiling, the Proud Martial Artist, was the beginning of his rise. It would definitely bring about a wave of wuxia craze this year. If it was someone else, people might not be so sure, but who was Lu Qin? Who had ever seen him fail? Lu Qin sang, created the campus folk song, and brought the new folk style of the pop music industry. Lu Qin filmed, and the Urban Trilogy became a classic. Those who followed him to film the same type of TV series were all very happy. Lu Qin played variety shows, and the copyright of the Voice of China was sold overseas. Since a long time ago, Lu Qin had the reputation of golden touch in the circle. Now that he was betting on wuxia, how many people could hold back from following him? For a time, there were many followers. First of all, the original novels with the theme of wuxia became popular. After The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, many so-called new wuxia novels emerged in China. The copyright fees for film and TV adaptations soared to an amazing level. At the end of last year, a young amateur writer wrote Young Wanderer. The first and second volumes totaled 500,000 words. The sales were very good. At present, it was still on the weekly sales list of Xinhua Book Company. In the end, the film adaptation rights of this book started at 5 million. After many parties fought fiercely, it was finally won by Wanhao Pictures at a sky-high price of 12 million. At the same time, they announced that they would start filming this year with a total investment of 150 million. Wanhao Pictures was a subsidiary of Wanhao Real Estate, and Wanhao Real Estate was also one of the top 10 real estate developers in the country. It could be said to be rich and powerful, and it was undoubtedly very optimistic about this market that it had snatched the copyright of Young Pugilistic World. As a new disruptor, Wanhao Pictures dared to bet. Of course, the established companies in the industry were not to be outdone. Just after the Spring Festival, 5 film companies had already announced their corresponding filming plans. They were all going for the popular wuxia IP. In addition to movies, there were also many companies preparing to shoot wuxia TV series this year. The result was that this IP was getting more and more popular. Many writers and screenwriters in the circle were eager to write about the same type of subject. At the same time, many stars in the film and TV industry revealed on their blogs that they had accepted roles in certain wuxia movies or wuxia TV series, adding fuel to the fire. A tall tree attracts the wind. In the elegant tea room of Beijing's Scenic Garden Private Club, Chen Guizhi said to Lu Qin with a smile, "You are a real big tree now. Do you feel a lot of pressure?" The owner of this high-end private club was Chen Guizhi's friend, so this famous director often met with his friends here, drinking tea, chatting, or talking about business. Of course, not everyone was qualified to get his invitation, and it was Lu Qin's second time here. They were discussing the filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. After directing the CCTV Spring Festival Gala, Chen Guizhi officially became the director of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. But he only agreed to direct The Sword of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer, which was the first movie. For the next 2 movies, Invincible of the East and The Final Showdown, Lu Qin decided to direct them himself, and he would be the action director for The Sword of Mount Hua. What Lu Qin didn't expect was that The Smiling, Proud Wanderer had attracted the covetous eyes of so many big shots in the industry before it even started shooting. It was estimated that when The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua was officially released, it would encounter many competitions and obstacles. It was Chen Guizhi who pointed out the key point and gave a kind reminder: remember to keep the script confidential. In addition, you need to strengthen the management of the company, especially the crew, and improve the contract for the actors. Don't overestimate the moral standards of some people. As a famous director, Chen Guizhi had been in the film and TV industry for decades, so he knew the rules too well. Nowadays, the investment of a big movie could easily reach 100 or 200 million, and the market scale was expanding year by year. The competition was extremely fierce, and in order to defeat the competitors, many people were not afraid to play dirty tricks. No matter how famous Lu Qin was, in the face of real interests, he couldn't protect himself from people's unfathomable hearts. Although Lu Qin had shot a Chinese ghost story before, the situation in Hong Kong was very different from that in China, so Chen Guizhi couldn't help but worry. Lu Qin accepted Chen Guizhi's advice modestly. "I will, thank you for your reminder." Chen Guizhi smiled and said, "That's good. I can tell you that someone offered me 100 million to break the contract with you and shoot their movie instead." 100 million. Lu Qin was also shocked. He didn't expect the domestic film industry to be so fierce. Chen Guizhi was a top director in the country, and his quoted salary was about 50 million, plus the share. He got a friendship prize for The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, which was 30 million plus 5% of the box office profit. As for the penalty of breach of the contract, it was only a symbolic 10 million. But 100 million was really a test. After deducting the 10 million penalty, there was still 90 million left. Lu Qin didn't think that Chen Guizhi was making up a story to raise his own value, and he also understood what the latter meant. He smiled and said, "How about I break the contract with you and let you earn this 100 million first?" Chen Guizhi laughed out loud. "I want to, but I can't bring myself to do it. So, I just hope that The Smiling, Proud Wanderer can sell 1 or 2 billion box office, and then I can earn all the money back." Lu Qin raised his cup and replaced the wine with tea. Happy cooperation. Chapter 799. The popularity of martial arts IP brought by The Smiling, Proud Wanderer not only attracted the attention of many people in the industry, but also brought several very special guests to Lu Qin. One of them was Luo Rong, the head of Ningxian County, and the other was Fang Xinho, Lu Chen's uncle, who was also the deputy section chief of Ningxian County's Industry and Commerce Bureau. Lu Qin received several guests at the headquarters of Qinfei Media. He received a call from his mother, Fang Yun, the day before yesterday, and then he came today. It was very fast. Ningxian County was located in the southwest of Zhejiang Province. It belonged to the relatively backward area of the province. It was an agricultural county with many mountains and few rivers. However, the natural environment and cultural scenery were quite good, and it was a famous tourist destination. Fang Yun was from Ningxian, and Lu Chen's grandfather lived in Ningxian for generations. Lu Qin lived in Ningxian for 2 years when he was a child, so he could be regarded as half a Ningxian person. It was precisely because of this relationship that a few uninvited guests had come to visit. Lu Qin complained, "Uncle, why didn't you call me first and let me pick you up at the airport?" Fang Xinho had called him after he had arrived in the capital, and then he had directly brought people over. Fang Xinho was a few years older than Fang Yun. He was a kind and gentle person with no ambition in his career, so he was only a small deputy section chief in the system for so many years. This uncle had a good relationship with Fang Yun. When the Lu family was in trouble, he came to Binhai. Although he didn't help much, Lu Qin still remembered this friendship very clearly. Fang Xinho smiled and said, "Mayor Luo didn't let me call. I didn't want to trouble you." Lu Qin shook his head and said, "What trouble? You are all elders. I should greet you." He reached out to the middle-aged man standing next to Fang Xinho and said, "Hello, Mayor Luo." Fang Yun had already said it on the phone. Hello, Lu Chen, I've heard a lot about you. Luo Rong smiled and shook hands with Lu Chen. After a few polite words, Lu Chen introduced him to Lu Shi. Everyone sat down in the VIP lounge. A group of 7 people from Ningxian County was personally led by the county head to the capital. This was considered a very high standard. Normally, with Fang Xinho's status, he was not qualified to be part of this group. But now, his importance was completely not beneath Luo Rong's. Because people in Ningxian hoped that Lu Chen could shoot the movie in Ningxian, or at least shoot in Ningxian, so that the tourism industry in Ningxian could be promoted. In the past, Ningxian's pillar industries were agriculture, breeding, forestry, and so on. There were no decent industries, so the economic level had always been very backward. In recent years, the domestic tourism industry had been developing, and Ningxian had also benefited from it. The proportion of the tourism industry had been increasing year by year. After Luo Rong was transferred to Ningxian as the county head, in order to speed up the economic development, he decided to vigorously expand the tourism industry and fully develop the tourism resources of Ningxian. Under his promotion, the county also built a Ningxian film and television city in the scenic area of Qingning Mountain, with a total investment of more than 500 million. The county head's idea was very good. The scenic area of Qingning Mountain was very rich in tourism resources. There was Qingning Mountain, which stretched for hundreds of miles and was covered with primeval forests. There was also the clear and beautiful Qingning River, and the time-honored Yunshan Temple and Sanqing Temple, as well as the ancient villages that maintained the original ecology. It was undoubtedly the right thing to promote the economy through tourism. But he took too big a step. He invested hundreds of millions to build the Mingqing Film and Television City. But in recent years, film and television cities had sprung up everywhere. Ningxian was located in a remote area, and the transportation and supporting facilities were not perfect. So when the Ningxian Film and Television City was just completed, it was faced with the awkward situation of a lack of tourists. Planting the parasol tree had attracted phoenixes. Now that the parasol tree on Mount Ning had been planted, only a few birds had flown over. One could imagine how much pressure Luo Rong, who was in charge, was facing. Fortunately, the county had accidentally learned that the big star Lu Chen, who had just appeared on the Spring Festival Gala, was actually half a Ningxian man. And he was going to shoot a big movie with more than 100 million investment. So he immediately connected the dots. As an official, he didn't know much about the entertainment industry. He basically didn't pay attention to stars and artists. But since the construction of the film and television city, the situation was different. Now Luo Rong was very clear about the influence of a big star like Lu Chen, and how much attention the movie, The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, would attract. So for Ningxian, it was undoubtedly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was not a legend that a movie could make a tourist spot popular. In 2010, the movie Deep Love was very popular in cinemas all over the country. The ancient town of Changqiao in the movie became very popular, and the streets were full of tourists. The demonstration effect of a big movie was very strong. If The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was shot in the Ningxian Film and Television City, as long as Ningxian did a little promotion, the whole project could be revitalized. Luo Rong brought Fang Xinho to the capital to find Lu Chen. He was playing the family card. For this, Lu Chen didn't have any objection. People couldn't live only for themselves. As long as Ningxian met the shooting conditions, it was not a problem to get a few locations. After all, he was half a Ningxian man. How about this, County Head Luo? Lu Chen thought for a while and said, I'll send someone to Ningxian first to understand the situation. As long as the conditions are right, I'm willing to shoot the movie in Ningxian. That's great. Luo Rong couldn't help but be happy. He stretched out his hands to Lu Chen and said, on behalf of the millions of people in Ningxian, I thank you. In addition, our county government will fully cooperate with the shooting of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer! Lu Chen was speechless. He hadn't fully agreed yet, but Luo Rong directly thanked him on behalf of the people. Shaking hands with Luo Rong, Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, "Thank you, County Head Luo." Luo Rong smiled and said, "It's natural for our government to cooperate. I'm going to transfer Chief Fong to the County Tourism Bureau as the Deputy Director. He'll be in charge of the tourist area and the film and television city." Fong Xinho said, "Oh." Obviously, he didn't know about this before. Lu Chen and Lu Shi looked at each other and saw the admiration in each other's eyes. This county head was really good at being an official. He was decisive and willing to take out benefits. It was related to Uncle Tang's future, and because of the relationship between relatives in his hometown, Lu Chen didn't need to pay more. The shooting of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer! In Ningxian had basically been finalized. Of course, it was still necessary to inspect the shooting site. The total investment of hundreds of millions of yuan couldn't be sloppy. Therefore, Lu Shi led the team back to Ningxian with Luo Rong and Fong Xinho. When Chen Fei heard about this on the same day, he decided to go and have a look. Chapter 800. Are you going to Ningxian, too? Chen Fei's idea surprised Lu Chen. What for? Hearing Lu Chen's question, Chen Fei asked angrily, "Can't I just go and have fun? Isn't it good for me to go with Sister Lu Shi?" And a faint blush appeared on her pretty face. "I can also visit your grandparents while I'm at it." The last reason was her real purpose, wasn't it? Lu Chen surrendered. "Fine, you go first, I'll come back later." Lu Chen should have been the most suitable person to go and have a look. After all, he was the real controller of the movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. When it came to the important shooting location, he had to visit it in person. However, the cooperation program with the Central Television Variety Channel was in full swing, so Lu Chen couldn't leave for a while. He could only let Lu Shi go first to understand the situation. Now Chen Fei was also there, so it was not a big deal. As long as she was happy. "Then I'll wait for you in Ningxian." Chen Fei smiled and kissed Lu Chen's face, saying, "Then be good in the capital." Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lu Shi touched her forehead and complained, "You too, can't you pay attention to your image?" Chen Fei giggled, held Lu Shi's arm and said, "Sister Lu Shi, let's go buy something for the trip." Obviously, she couldn't wait. On the third day after the people from Ningxian County arrived in the capital, Chen Fei, Lu Shi, and several people from Chen Fei Media went to Ningxian with them to have a look at the scenic area and the new film and television city. Because the inspection this time was related to whether the filming site of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer could be located in Ningxian, and whether the film and television city in Ningxian could get out of the difficult situation, Ningxian County attached great importance to it. They had started to prepare for the reception before they set off. Originally, it was enough for Ningxian to treat Lu Shi seriously as a representative. Now, with the addition of Chen Fei, although the treatment was not as good as the inspection of national leaders, it was enough to cause a huge sensation in this remote county town in eastern Zhejiang. Lu Chen didn't catch up with the excitement, but he did see on the internet that Ningxian County had advertised Chen Fei's visit to Ningxian as a daughter-in-law returning to her mother's home. This made him speechless. This kind of popularity was very skillful. But the ones who are really good at leeching off popularity are the people in the entertainment industry. With the early publicity of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, in addition to a large number of martial arts IP hyped up, there were also a lot of star artists rushing to leech off popularity. Among them, the hottest star was Gu Lei, the so-called hardcore star representative. This actor, who became an actor halfway through, was once the runner-up of the national kickboxing competition. He entered the film and television industry with his excellent skills and handsome appearance. So far, he has shot many films and TV series. Goulet's famous work was The Stormy South City, which had a total box office of $150 million, and won several film awards, including the Best Actor. But after The Stormy South City, Goulet's films were mediocre. He mainly shot action scenes, and basically didn't need a stunt double for the fighting scenes, so he was hyped up as a hardcore star, and his popularity was lower than that of the A-list. The agency that Goulet signed a contract with was famous in the circle for being good at hyping up, so they certainly wouldn't miss this wave of martial arts craze. And Goulet was also very lucky. He was chosen by the Land Pictures as the male lead of the new film The New 7 Heroes and 5 Gallants, playing the role of Jean Zhao, one of the 7 Gallants. The Land Pictures was one of the top 5 film companies in the country, and it had produced many movies that were very popular at the box office. This time, they also targeted the martial arts TV series, and specially chose the classic novel of the Qin dynasty, The 3 Heroes and 5 Gallants, to adapt it. As a big shot in the industry, the Land Pictures obviously didn't want to just get a share of the profits. First of all, the script they chose was very clever. The story of the 3 Heroes and 5 Gallants was widely spread among the people. In the 1980s, it was made into a movie in Xinjiang and released in China, so it had a good audience base. The Land Pictures claimed to have invested 100 million yuan. In addition to Goulet, they also invited a large cast. Although there were no top stars, the combination of these A-list and B-list actors was quite amazing. Originally, with Goulet's status, it was unlikely that he would be the first male lead in such a movie, but the company he signed a contract with was very good, plus his image and appearance were more suitable for the role, so he was lucky to be chosen. Goulet knew that his popularity wasn't high enough, so he took this opportunity to hype up, and so he went up against Lu Qin. This hard and powerful actor frequently appeared on variety shows and online media, and was constantly interviewed by reporters. First, he said that he played a very different Jean Zhao, and then he thought that the new 7 Heroes and 5 Gallants would become a classic of martial arts movies. Later, he directly challenged Lu Qin in an interview. Lu Qin's skills are very strong. I've seen his fight with Li Ziqing. It's very powerful and worthy of admiration. But fighting in reality is different from shooting a movie. In this regard, I'm not modest to say that my experience is richer than Lu Qin's, and I can make a real martial arts style. The Land Pictures thinks the same, so they chose me to play the most important role. Jean Zhao is a person with a very chivalrous spirit. Originally, I wanted to have a real fight with Lu Qin, but it's definitely not suitable now. So, let's have a literary competition through the movie, and see whose martial arts movie is more exciting. Under the deliberate guidance of the reporters, Goulet talked non-stop, as if he regarded Lu Qin as his biggest competitor, and he was very confident that he could win. Not only that, but he also posted the interview on his blog, and then with the hype of the internet, it quickly made it to the homepage of Wave's blog, and fiercely gained a large number of fans. Many of Lu Qin's fans were very dissatisfied after seeing the video, and they left comments to scold and ridicule. As a result, it was exactly what Goulet wanted, and he responded on his blog continuously. I'm not proud, but I'm not humble either. It's useless to say more, let's speak with facts. Please don't scold people, I think Lu Qin's fans should be of good quality. Goulet was undoubtedly very smart. Everyone knew that he was taking advantage of the popularity to hype himself up, but he acted as if he was innocent and telling the truth, which annoyed people but could not do anything about it. Of course, the most important thing was Lu Qin's attitude, and whether Lu Qin responded or not, or how he responded, for him, there would be corresponding moves, and he would pester him as much as he could. In the entertainment industry, Goulet was by no means the first person to play this kind of trick, and he would not be the last. As long as it was a popular star artist, they would never be able to avoid such harassment. Not only Goulet, but there were more than one or two people in the industry who wanted to take advantage of Lu Chen's popularity, and they all changed their tactics, making Lu Chen the target of public criticism for a while. Lu Chen's fans were very rational. After seeing through Goulet's intentions, they did not help him hype up, but everyone was also very concerned about how Lu Chen would deal with such a situation. Chapter 801. As the target of many people in the circle, Lu Chen, who was in the middle of the whirlpool of public opinion, was very calm. Since his debut, he had been releasing many works, and his popularity had been soaring. His commercial value was getting higher and higher. Similar situations were happening more and more often, so he was not surprised at all. It was just that some people were hyping up the news very fiercely this time. His response was to ignore it for the time being and observe the development of the situation. If this wave of hype could subside by itself, that would be the best. If it spread further, then he would consider taking appropriate measures. Now if Lu Chen is in a hurry to jump out and fight with the other party, then he will really fall into the trap. Perhaps some star artists in this kind of situation like to rely on a fight to stir up a wave, but Lu Chen really disdains it. In contrast, he was more concerned about his girlfriend in Ningxian. "Oh, I didn't expect the scenery in your hometown to be so beautiful," Chen Feier said happily on the phone. "I like it here very much. It's a good place to film." Lu Chen had lived in Ningxian for several years when he was a child, so he certainly knew the scenery there was very good. However, he had not been back in the last 10 years, so he did not know the situation there. Hearing what Chen Feier said, he was relieved and asked with a smile, "Then when are you coming back?" It was half of his hometown, and his mother had called him in person. His uncle and the county magistrate had come to the capital for help. Lu Chen had to give them face. Since they met the conditions, of course it was a happy ending. The smiling, proud wanderer would shoot 3 movies in a row, so it was impossible to only shoot in one place. It was a win-win situation to include Ningxian as the shooting location. "Let's stay for 2 more days." Chen Feier smiled and said, "The scenery here is very original, and spring comes early in the mountains. The weather here is much more comfortable than in the capital. Today, Lu Shi and I just climbed Qingning Mountain and burned incense in Yunshan Temple. Tomorrow, we will go to the film and television city and take some photos in real life." Obviously, she was a little addicted to it. What else could Lu Chen say? "Well, stay for a few more days if you have fun." "Well, happy holidays." Chen Feier was stunned when she heard that. She immediately came to a realization. Today is Women's Day. Do you have a gift for me?" Lu Chen sighed. "Didn't you see the big red envelope I sent you with QQ? QQ just launched the red envelope function during the new year. During the new year, he sent out millions of red envelopes." Of course, Chen Feier was not short of money, but it was his sincerity that mattered. Sure enough, she was very happy. I didn't even notice." "Thank you, my dear." The two of them cuddled for a few more minutes, and then Chen Feier reluctantly handed the phone to Lu Shi. "Sister, happy holidays." Lu Shi said snappily, "All right, don't play this game with me. I'm talking business with you." Lu Chen coughed twice and said, "Okay." What Lu Shi said to Lu Chen was really serious, and it was not a trivial matter. The Ningxian county government intended to sell shares of Ningxian Film and Television City to Qinfei Media, and the highest proportion of transfer was 49%. The intention of the Ningxian county government was obvious. They wanted to tie Qinfei Media to the chariot of the development of Ningxian's tourism industry and use the influence of Qinfei Media to carry out publicity and promotion. In addition, they wanted to recover part of the investment and fill the government's already stretched budget. Of course, Ningxian County was not a unilateral demand. Ningxian Film and Television City has been basically completed. The investment is huge and the facilities are complete. The most important thing is that it contains the most elite tourism resources of Qingning Mountain, and the potential value is extremely high. Today, the domestic tourism industry is booming. As long as it is properly managed, the future return of this investment is undoubtedly very high. However, involving hundreds of millions of projects, Lu Shi did not dare to make the decision herself. Lu Chen thought about it and said, "Sister, I don't have much experience in this area, so it's up to you to decide. But I have a suggestion. If you decide to invest, then bring Sister Mushi with you." Last time, Li Mushi complained to Lu Chen that he didn't bring her to play in the investment project, so this time, Li Mushi was added to fulfill the promise and share the pressure of Qin Fei Media. It also added insurance for the investment. With the participation of Li Mushi, who represented the Li family, it could really reduce a lot of trouble. Although this was a little harsh, it was true. Lu Chen didn't care how much he earned, but he didn't want to get involved in unnecessary trouble to make money. Lu Shi understood in a second. "Your suggestion is very correct. Then I'll contact Mushi and see if she's interested." Lu Chen was pleased. "That's it. By the way, you can learn about the situation there. On behalf of me and the company, you can donate some money to the lonely elderly or poor students in the county. It can be regarded as half a hometown person's heart." Lu Chen had always been very attentive in charity. It was natural to repay Sang Zi. He could also use this to establish a more friendly relationship with the Ningxian County government, which was conducive to the development of future shooting work. Lu Shi agreed. Things in Ningxian went very smoothly, but the trouble Lu Chen faced did not reduce at all. Gu Lei was addicted to riding on the popularity. Seeing that Lu Chen didn't respond, he became more and more unscrupulous in his hype. Gu Lei is confident to make a martial arts movie to beat Lu Chen. Who is the real tough martial arts star? Gu Lei says he has something to say. The new 7 Heroes and 5 Righteous vs the Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Who will be the box office champion this summer? Gu Lei accepts an interview with a reporter from EasyNet and admits that he has no pressure facing Lu Chen. His hype was in full swing, and others were envious. What was originally a small fuss was also deliberately expanded. All kinds of true and false news were flying all over the internet, and it became a trend for a while. As a result, the fans who had been waiting for Lu Chen to fight back couldn't help but feel anxious. Everyone was angry at the shameless and dirty people like Gu Lei, and worried that Lu Chen would be affected, so they all ran to his blog to support or question him. Lu Chen still remained silent, as if he was waiting for something. On the evening of March 9th, Chen Fei updated her blog, and the theme of her new blog post was a photo. In the photo, Chen Fei was wearing a set of exquisitely embroidered goose yellow floral smoky gauze gown, with a phoenix head gold hairpin inserted in her lightly gathered and slowly pinched hair. Her beautiful eyes were smiling, and she was leaning lazily against a peach blossom tree with blooming stamens. Behind her was a green forest, a stream winding through the forest, and a stone bridge flying over it. Under the bridge, 3 to 5 white ducks were playing in the water. The people and the scenery blended together perfectly, and it was extremely beautiful. There was no text in this blog post except for the photo. It just Lu Chen and added a playful emoji. Chapter 802. Chen Fei's photo was taken in Xuxi town at the foot of Qingning Mountain. This ancient town with a history of hundreds of years was very famous in Ningxian. Its architectural style and culture were very traditional. It was often visited by backpackers, and now it had become one of the attractions in Ningxian's tourist area. The stream in the photo was from Qingning Mountain and meandered through the ancient town. In March every year, the peach blossom forest by the stream was in full bloom, and it was the most beautiful time. The scenery was beautiful, and the person was even more beautiful. Chen Fei rarely took photos in ancient costumes. Last time when she was filming a Chinese ghost story, she played the role of the boss. Compared with today's photo posted on the blog, it was a completely different style. It really made people's eyes light up. The fans directly knelt down. So beautiful. It's so beautiful that I can't stand it. Foul, foul. The real goddess is unparalleled. I want to know where this photo was taken. I want the original high-resolution photo. I want to use it as my computer desktop. I'm begging. My Fei is so suitable to wear the traditional Chinese costume. Is this the official photo of the smiling, proud wanderer? It's so beautiful. Ren Yingying, like many female stars, Chen Fei often posted photos on the blog. Some of them were photos of her life or work, and of course, there were also selfies. But unlike most people, her photos were never overdone with Photoshop, and she would not use any software to overdo it. She completely showed her true beauty. There was basically no Photoshop effect in this photo, but both the color and the composition were very clever. It used the poetic scenery to set off Chen Fei's beauty and temperament. It was reasonable to win countless fans' praise. It could be seen that Chen Fei liked this photo very much, so she took it out and put it on the blog. She also tagged Lu Qin. Although there were no words, the meaning was obvious: come and praise me. When Lu Qin saw this photo, he had just returned home. Because Lu Shi took people to Ningxian for the examination, he had to stay in the company. In addition to the program production of The Eight Storms Return to the Capital, he was busy until 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. After taking a shower, he habitually turned on his computer and logged into his blog, only to see countless people tagging him. Seeing the peach blossoms in the photo, Lu Qin felt the tiredness of a busy day disappear, and he couldn't help but smile. He pondered for a moment before replying to Chen Fei with a few lines of poetry. The birth of spring, the first spring forest Henley of spring breeze is not as good as you. This short poem of only 15 words came from Lu Chen's memories in his dream world. Although it was extremely short, it spoke of the beauty of spring. But on the basis of describing the spring scenery, it also used the words, not as good as you, to express the love and admiration in his heart. No matter how beautiful the spring scenery is, no matter how strong the feeling of spring is, no matter how warm the spring breeze is, it is not as good as having you by my side and in my heart. Lu Qin felt that only this poem could express his love. When Chen Fei saw his reply, he quickly replied with a shy emoji that could melt a girl's heart. As for the countless fans, they were fed dog food. So sad, just after Women's Day, I'm fed dog food again. Is there any justice in this world? Wow, Qin can write poems. Those who ask Lu Qin can write poems are really drunk. Lu Qin has written so many songs, isn't it normal that he can write poems? Spring breeze is not as good as you, it's written too well. Is this a love poem that Qin gave to Fei? It's so fitting. If anyone writes such a love poem to me, I'll marry him immediately. I'm going to engrave this poem on my phone. Lu Qin and Chen Fei's blog fans added up to more than 200 million. Although there was definitely a large number of overlap in the entire entertainment industry, they were absolutely invincible. Any blog post by the two could get millions of clicks, hundreds of thousands of comments and forwards, and the interaction between the two tonight was particularly different, truly illustrating what it meant to be a perfect match. A photo and a short poem instantly blew up the Waves blog. In just 1 hour, Lu Chen's blog had been forwarded more than 500,000 times, and there were hundreds of thousands of comments. In the modern online society, with a killing machine like search engines, it was simply too easy to determine whether a poem was original or not. The fans who had their hearts poked praised it, and it also attracted many people in the industry and even big and small VIPs in the literary circle to join in. Without any suspense, Lu Chen's new blog post reached the top of the hot topics on the homepage of Wave's blog. Lu Chen and Chen Feier and Spring Breeze is not as good as you also quickly appeared on the keyword search list. If it was an ordinary person who wrote the same poem and published it on the blog, the result was likely to be drowned in the sea of words of hundreds of millions of people, and it would not cause the slightest ripple. Even if it was published in newspapers and magazines, there might not be much of a response. Perhaps the brilliance of a good poem could not be buried forever, and it would eventually be loved and recognized by people, but it would never spread throughout the entire online world in such a short period of time, and be read and discussed by hundreds of millions of people. A literary critic wrote on his blog, "Thank you, Lu Chen, for letting me read a good poem and understand a true love. I used to think that poets no longer belonged to this era, but now I know I was wrong. Do you know what I want to do the most now?" When the online world was in an uproar, Chen Feier called Lu Chen. Her voice was full of gentle love. "I want to fly back to your side immediately." Lu Chen laughed and said, "If I had known, I would have written a few more poems for you." Chen Feier sighed and said, "Really, I really feel that I am the happiest woman in the world. If I could be by your side now, it would be perfect." A woman immersed in a sweet love was irrational. "I'll get my assistant to drive me back now." "Don't." Lu Chen was shocked. "It's so far away. It's too dangerous to drive at night." What a joke! From Ningxian to Beijing on the highway, it was at least 2,000 kilometers, and it would take more than 10 hours to drive smoothly. How could he be at ease? Chen Feier giggled. "I know, I was just saying, look at how scared you are." Lu Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. "All right, you must be tired today, right? Rest early." "No," Chen Feier was willful. "I want to talk to you more, listen to your voice." Fortunately, the fans could not hear the conversation between the two, or else they would have goosebumps all over their bodies. The two were sweet and affectionate, and although they were separated by thousands of miles, it was as if they were close at hand. Some people, on the other hand, were stuffed with the dog food by the two of them and felt very upset. Chapter 803. Bang! A fist slammed heavily on the desk, causing the laptop placed on it to jump. The screen fluctuated a few times before stabilizing again. What was displayed on the screen was the hot list of Inspire blog. Goulet picked up the bottle of mineral water on the bar and gulped it down in one gulp. His eyes were glued to the screen, and he squeezed the empty plastic bottle in his hand until it made a cracking sound, just like his mood at the moment. In just a few hours, his popularity on Wave's blog dropped by 3 places and directly fell off the homepage list. The internet world is vast and boundless, and there are countless news transmitted through the internet every day. As the largest online community platform in China, Wave's blog can reflect current hot events to a large extent. Because of this, the hot list on the homepage of Wave's blog is updated very quickly. Because there are new and even big events every day, it attracts tens of millions of netizens to comment, click, and forward. It's just that no event can maintain enough freshness forever. Today's world-shaking event may not be talked about by many people in 2 days because everyone is attracted by the new information. Some time ago, Goulet desperately hyped up his popularity, and finally got on the hot list of the homepage of Inspire blog as he wished. It is reasonable to say that he should be satisfied after a few days on it. It is difficult for many star artists to show their faces. But Goulet is very unhappy, very dissatisfied. How do you do things? We paid the money that should be paid, didn't we? We agreed to stay on the homepage for at least a week, but now it has fallen off after only 3 days. What do you think we should do? He spewed all the depression and annoyance in his heart at the 2 men sitting opposite him, resisting the urge to beat them up. Goulet's temper has always been bad. When he first switched to the film and television industry, he suffered a lot because of his bad temper and almost couldn't make it in. Later, he hit the wall and his head was bleeding. Finally, he came to his senses and restrained his nature and temper. He was careful with his tail between his legs. When it was time to be a grandson, he knelt down and did not hesitate. Finally, the clouds parted to see the moon. After becoming famous, Goulet would occasionally act like a big shot, but he didn't dare to go too far. After all, he hadn't made it to the top level, and it was not easy to act like a big shot. If he offended someone he shouldn't provoke, he might be beaten back to his original state overnight. However, his recent fame had caused his temper to rise, and today, he finally couldn't hold it in any longer. The fact that he didn't beat them up was already the result of him enduring for a long time. In fact, Goulet also had a reason to be angry. He and the company he signed a contract with had invested millions in the hype, and had hired the industry's top marketing company for this. The person he had just insulted was the business representative and professional speculator of this online marketing company. It sounded a little unbelievable. Spending a few million just to hype himself up. In fact, in the industry, if you wanted to hype yourself up, you had to spend money. It was just that there were tens of thousands of speculation methods and hundreds of thousands of strategies. Spending a few million might seem like a lot, but it was actually very normal if one thought about it carefully. For example, if one wanted to hire a promoter and gunman, they would have to spend as much money as they could if they wanted to have a good effect. They would also have to bribe media reporters and give them a lot of red packets. It might have been possible to become famous on the internet without spending money a few years ago, but it was impossible now. Take a few big web portals for example. If one wanted to get into the entertainment section of the news, they would have to spend money to buy a position. It was even more expensive to get on the headlines. Writing a good article would cost thousands of yuan. Goulet's weakness was that his reputation was not loud enough and his popularity was not strong enough. If he wanted to rely on hype to rise up, in addition to riding on the popularity of big names, he would have to be willing to spend money to hype himself up. Goulet was not afraid of spending money. Anyway, he had the company he signed a contract with to back him up. The money he spent on hype now would sooner or later be earned back with interest. However, he had spent a lot of money, and it took him a lot of effort to jump up and down. Seeing that his own hype was getting more and more popular, suddenly a big basin of cold water was poured down on him. How could he bear it? He had just enjoyed the feeling of being in the limelight and everyone's attention. That was especially unbearable to be ignored by the public. And looking at the top of the Waves blog's hot list, Spring Breeze is Not Like You, Lu Chen's love poem, Chen Fei's beautiful photos. There was even being fed dog food again. Goulet felt that he was F***ked. Casually counting, on today's Waves blog's hot list, there were as many as 4 or 5 posts related to Lu Chen. And what did Lu Chen do? Lu Chen only wrote a short poem. The content of 15 words easily crushed him into slag. It was really F***king unbelievable. Goulet did not want to admit how jealous he was of Lu Chen. He did not want to be inferior to Lu Chen. He did not think that he would benefit from riding on Lu Chen's popularity. He only felt that fate was unfair. You have to think of a way to stir up the popularity again. Regarding Goulet's tough request, the two marketing companies looked at each other. In fact, they were also quite helpless. Nowadays, hyping up hot topics was considered a technical job. It was not possible to use brute force. Some time ago, the hype was already very strong. If they increased the effort, it would be as bad as not enough. The most important thing was that the Waves blog had always strictly controlled the hype on the internet. Although there were unspoken rules that could be exploited, if one crossed the line, it would be very difficult to deal with. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame Lu Chen for being too abnormal. His hundreds of millions of fans in Immerse blog were simply terrifying, and his influence was so great that almost no one could compete with him. He didn't need to accompany Goulet to fight at all. He just had an artistic interaction with Chin Fei, and all his competitors were knocked into the dust. Compared to the calm Lu Qin, Goulet was like a dancing clown on the street. The difference was obvious. The marketing company originally had a complete preparatory plan to deal with Lu Chen's possible reaction, whether it was counterattack or silence. There were corresponding countermeasures, but they did not expect Lu Chen's response to be so unique. That was, you play your game, I play mine. Can you beat me? Indeed, you can't beat me. The marketing company's people were also helpless. They could not go against the wishes of the investor. Otherwise, how could they make money? The sales representative coughed, patted his chest and said to Goulet, Mr. Gu, please rest assured that our company will go all out to achieve the goal and help you get back on the hot list. Goulet stared at him. You said it yourself, ding. At this moment, a crisp and sweet sound came from the laptop. The open blog page showed that Goulet's account had just received a new message. Goulet's heart could not help but skip a beat. Suddenly, he had a bad feeling. He quickly held the mouse and clicked on the message. The message indicated that the account he followed had just published a new blog post. And this account was Lu Qin. Chapter 804. Lu Chen's blog was updated again. It was reasonable to say that this should be a normal thing. It was not worth making a fuss at all. It should be known that the current online social media platform was an important place for celebrities and artists in the entertainment industry. Its importance had long surpassed traditional media such as television and newspapers. Basically, all the people in the industry had a verified account on Wave's blog. Some celebrities were known as blog fanatics. They would even post dozens of blog posts a day. Big things like filming movies and TV series, photos and concerts, and small things like eating, walking, and shopping would be posted on the blog. Daily selfies were indispensable. In contrast, Lu Qin, who had the first number of Wave's blog fans, updated his blog at a very low frequency. Moreover, he did not like to hype on his personal blog, which was very different from many of his peers. As a target to ride on the popularity, Goulet had followed Lu Chen's blog for a long time. He knew Lu Chen's style very well. Putting aside his jealousy, he still had an indescribable admiration for Lu Chen's aloof attitude. Because he couldn't do it himself. But now that he saw Lu Chen's blog update, Goulet had a feeling of fear. Previously, he tried his best to hype up the popularity because he was sure that Lu Qin would not be serious with him. Therefore, he was very unscrupulous, thinking that even if he was counterattacked by Lu Qin, he would not be afraid. However, it turned out that Goulet was very wrong. Lu Qin did not need to fight with him at all. He used a few lines of poems to attract all the attention, making him feel like he was a joke. Goulet had a phobia of blogs, but he could not ignore it. So, he clicked on Lu Chen's blog to see what the latter had done. In fact, Goulet himself didn't know that his current mentality was extremely ridiculous. Although his hype behavior, along with a group of followers, did bring some trouble to Lu Qin in public opinion. But Lu Qin did not care at all. Because his status in the industry and his popularity in the country were unshakable, there was no need for him to lower himself to argue with people like Goulet. Of course, since there was trouble, he had to find a way to solve it. Lu Chen's way of dealing with it was very simple. You play your game, and I'll play mine. Let's see who wins. Moreover, if he wanted to play, he would definitely play with new tricks and new heights. A poem that triggered a heated discussion among hundreds of millions of people was considered as an appetizer. Lu Qin released the song on his newly updated blog. At the same time, he tagged Chin Fei, for you in the distance. This was an original work of his, and it was called 10 Miles of Spring Breeze. I'm in the second ring road, thinking of you. You're on the distant mountain, enjoying the spring breeze. Today, the wind blows against you, and it rains. I say that all the wine in the world is inferior to you. In the night of the drum tower, I sing for you the fragrance of flowers. Elsewhere, silent encounters and expectations, the plane flew over the busy city. 1,000 li away, but I won't leave. Last year, Lu Chen hadn't released a new song for a long time, because he spent most of his time and energy on the filming of the TV series. In addition, he also went to the United States. For Lu Chen's fans, a TV play a year makes her/them very happy, but Lu Chen's fans are very unhappy. Moreover, Lu Chen hasn't held a concert so far, and the third record is still far away, which makes people complain. The main reason was that everyone was spoiled. They were used to Lu Chen's musical talent, which was like a fountain, and were used to the continuous surprises he brought, so their ears became very picky, and they always compared his works with other musicians. Fortunately, since the new year, Lu Chen wrote several more songs in succession, which finally appeased the fans' complaints. Moreover, people also found that Lu Chen now liked to release new songs on Waves' blog. If you read his blog daily, you might get an unexpected surprise. This time, Lu Chen released a new work on his blog again. Therefore, thousands of fans listened to and downloaded the song, 10 Miles of Spring Breeze, at the first time. All the spring is kneaded into a morning. All the words that can't stop turn into a secret and close the door. Inexplicable feelings, may I ask who will take them away? I have to turn the years into songs, and leave them in the mountains and rivers. This song, 10 Miles of Spring Breeze, continued Lu Chen's most commendable folk song style, and it was dedicated to Chen Feier. It was gentle and affectionate. It sang the deepest longing for her in the distance. What was very special was that 10 Miles of Spring Breeze was derived from the poem Spring that Lu Chen wrote for Chen Feier previously, and it changed the theme and content, maintaining the continuation and sublimation of emotion. The most impressive part of the song was undoubtedly the line, I said all the wine is not as good as you. From 10 Miles of Spring Breeze is not as good as you to all the wine is not as good as you, it sang Lu Chen's deepest love. To this, Chen Feier replied with 3 words, I love you. If the interaction between Lu Chen and Chen Feier on the blog yesterday was a ton of dog food sprinkled to everyone, then today it was at least a truck of dog food. Listening to this song, the fans' feelings were really complicated. Those who had love in their hearts naturally resonated with it, those who were alone were sad, envious, jealous, and hateful, and those who had loved before were melancholy and sorrowful. Someone wrote in the comment, after listening to the first time, I dug out a few cans of beer from the fridge and drank it, hoping to get drunk and see her again in my drunken dreams. Thank you, Lu Chen, thank you for this song. His comment resonated with countless fans, and many people wrote their own stories on Lu Chen's blog and poured out their love. That year, I got drunk for the first time because of her. I liked her, but she didn't like me. All the wine is not as good as you, Zhang Yuming, I love you. With tears flowing, I listened to it over and over again. When I was young, I didn't understand love, and now I really regret it. My boyfriend is now thousands of miles away. There were so many comments from fans that 10 Miles of Spring Wind appeared on the hot list on the homepage of Waves' blog in just 10 minutes. The speed was so fast that it was jaw-dropping, and it definitely set a record for Waves' blog. Lu Chen's previous and subsequent blog posts also made Goulet's hype a complete joke. Although the marketing company hired by Goulet's contracting company later tried its best to hype up the heat again, not only did it not succeed, but it received a lot of negative comments and was hated by many people. Lu Chen because the poems and new songs written by Lu Chen represented the love that people yearned for in their hearts. Those who tried to use him to hype up the song naturally appeared particularly despicable and shameless. Those beautiful things should not be tarnished. Note, 10 miles of spring wind, lyrics/music, Dubby. Chapter 805. Beijing, New Era Art Park, East District, Borui Museum. The predecessor of Borui Museum was a 5-story factory production building, built in the 1970s. It was wide, sturdy, and rough, with a very typical Soviet style. Nowadays, it was rare in the highly modernized Beijing. The reason why it could be preserved was due to the construction of the art park. At that time, the designer transformed it into a large-scale art exhibition center and divided it into several functional areas, so that the 40-year-old building was rejuvenated and became a unique landscape in the park. At 9 a.m., a large group of excited young people came to Borui Museum. They didn't come to see the art exhibition held here, but to visit and learn the newly opened martial arts club. These young people in their teens and 20s were the actors of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. They were the winners of the audition, and there were more than 100 people in total. The martial arts club was established by Chinfei Media, which rented an area of 850 square meters on the 5th floor of Borui Museum. It was built into a first-class martial arts training place in China, specializing in the training of stunt doubles and action actors in films and TV series. Although the area of the martial arts club was not very large, all kinds of training facilities were top-notch. Many of the equipment was imported and worth more than 10 million yuan. In addition, a lot of special equipment was customized, such as wires, wooden dummies, universal suspension arms, and so on. The core strength of the martial arts club was the Liu family squad built by Liu Qin. The establishment of the martial arts club was to expand the number of members of the Liu family squad to meet the talents needed for the development and expansion of the wuxia IP. Before the Liu family squad, the domestic film and television industry was almost blank in this area. Although there were stunt doubles and action actors, they were basically all incompetent. But now with the emergence of the wuxia craze, the talent in this area suddenly became scarce. In fact, except for Liu Qin, the positioning of the wuxia film and TV series in the circle even stopped at the Hong Kong TV series in the 1970s and 1980s, or foreign action films, and did not realize the great changes that were about to occur. And Liu Qin was very clear about what he wanted and what he needed to do. He began the development of the wuxia IP 2 years ago, and prepared step by step. It could be said that he firmly took the initiative. These young people who passed the audition were undoubtedly very good seeds. They had a very good foundation, mastered at least one martial arts skill, and were full of vitality and plasticity. Of course, the first batch of students of the martial arts club did not need so many people, so they must be the best of the best. Therefore, Liu Qin specially arranged today's visit to increase his understanding of them. If they could catch his eye, even if they were eliminated in the later stage of the draft, he could still sign them. For these young people, coming to the Essence Martial Arts Dojo was like entering the Grand View Garden. The equipment and facilities inside were too high-end. They had never seen many of them before, so they were especially curious and fresh. Not only that, but the training of the Liu Martial Arts Club, but also opened their eyes. By Liu members training in martial. What excited the young people most was that they saw Liu Qin here. Martial school, as soon as his voice fell, martial was martial college, martial arts club, China, and martial sect, league, and college, and world. And as soon as he finished speaking, there was a warm applause. Many people desperately clapped to vent their excitement. This was Liu Qin, everyone's idol. Many young people traveled thousands of miles to Beijing. In addition to fulfilling their dreams of becoming actors, they also wanted to see Liu Qin. Even if they were eliminated, it was worth it to speak a few words with Liu Qin. Now they finally got what they wanted. Next to them, the CCTV variety channel's cameraman, carrying a high-definition camera, faithfully recorded the scene. The video would be sent back to CCTV for editing and broadcast as an important part of the talent show. Lu Chen smiled and waited for the applause to subside. He introduced Wan Yong to everyone. This is Martial Arts Club's chief instructor, Teacher Wan Yong. He will be in charge of your training here for the next 3 days. Welcome. There was another round of applause, and many people shouted in unison, Martial Arts Club, Teacher Wan. Wan Yong's expression was serious. He was not affected by the applause at all. He said in a deep voice, Welcome to the Martial Arts Club. From now on, you are students of the Martial Arts Club. Although you only have 3 days to learn, the club has arranged many strict training programs for you. It will definitely be very hard. If you are afraid of suffering, then you can leave now. His sharp eyes swept across the faces of the students, as if he was waiting for someone to leave. However, none of the young people who had passed the online audition and passed the difficult challenge would leave at this time. They had all learned martial arts, and many of them were martial arts students. Why would they be afraid of suffering? Moreover, there was a camera next to them. If anyone were to admit defeat, it would be equivalent to embarrassing themselves in front of the whole country. The young people all straightened their chests and met Wan Yong's gaze like soldiers being inspected. Lu Chen retreated to the side. He was not the protagonist today. They were. These young people were the hope and the future. After a while, Wan Yong nodded with satisfaction. Very good. Since no one wants to leave, then I will now divide you into groups. Each group will have a teacher responsible for training. A total of 170 students were divided into 10 groups. Each group had 17 members. The teacher who served as their teacher was the official member of the Lu family class. The martial arts club had already prepared the training clothes. After the students changed in their respective locker rooms, they came out and lined up in groups. They directly began the first day of basic training. In the past, the fighting in martial arts movies used the routine fighting methods in traditional martial arts. Every move had a fixed pattern. It looked lively, but it was fake. Therefore, martial arts movies were short-lived in Hong Kong and the mainland. They did not form any climate at all. Later, they were directly replaced by action movies, which followed the style and characteristics of Hollywood. The young students had basically seen this kind of action movie. Some had also seen martial arts movies a long time ago. They originally thought that the training content of the martial arts club would not deviate from these two modes. In the end, they found that they were very wrong. What the Lu family class took was a completely new routine. It was reflected in the specific basic training. It undoubtedly brought a great impact to the students' thinking. It also let them discover a completely different world. Chapter 806. The arrival of the 170 students made the newly built elite martial arts dojo extremely lively. Under the leadership of their respective teachers, the 10 groups went through a series of basic training for film and television shooting. 3 days was a very short time, and what the students could learn was actually very limited. Unless they were peerless geniuses, it was impossible for this group of young people to become qualified martial artists through 3 days of learning. The instructors of the Lu family class mainly let them experience the process of film and television shooting in person. Simple pair training, imposing pressure, brandishing guns and swords, including all kinds of actions in front of the green screen, which were combined with computer special effects. The scene and the angle of view were taken as the criterion. Big scenes were used for big movements, small scenes were used for small details, and big movements were used for big movements such as kicking over a circle of people. Elevation was used to show a certain part of the action, and depth was used to show the situation of the fight. According to Lu Chen's standards, the shooting of martial arts films required very profound skills. He spent a long time sorting out the memory from the dream world, writing a set of detailed shooting theory for martial arts films, and constantly accumulating experience through actual shooting. When shooting the movie, A Chinese Ghost Story, Lu Qin showed off his skills. The fighting in Jianghu and the fight between good and evil in the film were wonderful and exciting, which became an important factor in the success of the film. From that time on, Lu Qin also took on the role of the action director through his mastery of the Lu family class. But A Chinese Ghost Story was not a real martial arts film, and there were not many fighting scenes. The smiling, proud wanderer was the real test for him. And the existing 20 to 30 members of the Lu family class were far from enough to support Lu Chen's grand martial arts IP plan. These young people who came from all over the country with dreams and enthusiasm were undoubtedly seeds. For seeds, Lu Chen was willing to spend time, energy, and even money to cultivate them. The 3 days of training in the martial arts club was just the beginning. To these young students, these 3 days were like a baptism of life. First of all, their horizons had been lifted from the narrow confines of the world, and they had entered a wider and more mystical world. Everyone had seen movies and TV shows, and seen all kinds of special effects in movies and TV shows. However, when they and their companions followed the instructions and performed a few prescribed actions in front of the giant green screen, and then saw the movie-level special effects on the screen, this feeling was really incomparably wonderful. The students suddenly realized that they were so close to their dreams. It was as if they took another step forward, they would be able to step into the circle that countless people envied and enjoy the limelight. This kind of knowledge brought them great stimulation, so they threw themselves into daily training with the greatest enthusiasm. No matter how hard and tired they were, they gritted their teeth and persevered. Even if they fell and rolled on the ground, they would not cry. Most importantly, in these 3 days, Lu Chen had been in the elite martial arts club, supervising their training. This batch of seedlings is not bad, Wang Yong said to Lu Chen, at least 70 to 80% of them can meet our requirements. It would be a pity to eliminate them. According to Lu Chen's plan, the Lu family class would select about 20 to 30 people from this batch of students to sign a contract and train them to participate in the filming of the smiling, proud wanderer, and even train them to become the backbone of the Lu family class in the future. However, Wang Yong did not expect that the selected students would have such good basic qualities, and basically all of them could bear hardships and were willing to learn. Thinking that most of them would be eliminated in the future, he could not help but feel pity. Lu Chen smiled and said, 20 to 30 people is the minimum. It's not a problem to have a few more good seedlings with potential. As long as you choose them, you can pick all of them. If the Lu family class expanded to more than 100 members, it would be more than enough to spend 30 to 40 million a year. Compared with the investment and profit of shooting a movie, it was nothing at all. And in the future, when the Lu family class became famous in the circle, it would be impossible for them to only shoot one movie a year. It might not even be enough to satisfy Lu Chen's big wuxia IP plan. If they really had free time, they could totally do outsourcing tasks, or even run a business. There were too many ways to make money. So if there were really good talents, they absolutely could not miss them. Wang Yong laughed and rubbed his hands with satisfaction. The Lu family class was founded by Lu Chen, but the actual manager was Wang Yong, who had always been the head of the Lu family class. Lu Chen trusted him very much. Not only did he give him a generous salary, but he also gave him enough power. A gentleman would die for a bosom friend. Wang Yong also recognized Lu Chen as a boss. Although many people came to poach him in the open and in the dark, and even offered him several times the salary, he was never tempted. Because Wang Yong believed that following Lu Chen was the brightest future. In fact, Lu Chen had never let him down, and he would never let Lu Chen down. Speaking of good seedlings, Wang Yong said, I found a few particularly good ones. Lu Chen's expression changed, and he asked, which ones? Through these few days of observation, he also found a few very outstanding students. He didn't know if there were people that Won Yong valued. Won Yong pointed out to Lu Qin, this one, and this one, oh yes, and this one, called Meng Hu. This young man is very talented, I want to take him as a disciple. Lu Qin immediately smiled. He waved to the student called Meng Hu, Student Meng Hu, please come here. When he was called by Lu Qin, Meng Hu was practicing with the instructor. He didn't notice at first, and only reacted after the instructor reminded him, "Aw. Teacher Lu is looking for me." He felt like he was in a dream, and it was very unreal. The instructor said with a smile, "Silly boy, hurry up, the boss must have taken a fancy to you." Meng Hu's face instantly turned red. He ran dizzily to Lu Qin and Won Yong, and stammered, "Lu, Teacher Lu, Instructor Won, are you looking for me?" The other students in the training ground all showed expressions of envy and jealousy when they saw this. This was the first time Lu Qin called out a student in the 3 days in the elite martial arts dojo. Meng Hu was going to hit the jackpot. Looking at the uneasy young man in front of him, Lu Qin asked with a smile, "Your name is Meng Hu, right?" Meng Hu composed himself and quickly replied, "Yes, Meng as in Mencius, tiger as in tiger. I'm 18 years old this year, Nanhua Heng Shan Neo Martial Arts School." In his nervousness, he recited his lines from the audition. Nanhua Heng Shan Neo Martial Arts School. Lu Qin nodded, "I remember that there are quite a few students who passed the audition in your school. You have a lot of talents." Meng Hu didn't know how to answer, so he smiled and scratched his head. Won Yong rolled his eyes, speechless. This young man was really too inexperienced. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.